Greetings, Battle Brothers. It's me, Aurelia Tempris, Defender of the Golden Throne and Servant of Humanity. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing? How was my day? My day was good. My day was good. I just ate. So I'm happy. I'm very happy. That's all I really need to get fed and, well, we don't talk about sleeping. I want sleep, but does it happen? We don't worry about it. Hold on, there's this weird noise in my room. You guys hear it when I talk? It's like, it sounds like a spaceship. What is that noise? I didn't... Okay, you guys can't hear it. You can't hear it. Oh, weird. Well, that's good at least, but... What could that be? I thought it was my ceiling fan. I'm like, but no, it's not a fan. No, it's... It's me, I'm in your walls. You're a spaceship in my walls? Hang on, let me... What? I'm so confused. Sorry, I didn't notice it till I sat down and started streaming. I was like, oh, I'm gonna start on time today. And now it's weird noise. Wait, hang on, I'll turn off the music. Okay, so if I talk, can you hear it in the background? I think you probably can't. It doesn't... The sound gate doesn't pick it up. Hold on. I'm turning the music back on. Okay, you guys can't hear it. Weird. I'm gonna go figure out what it is really fast. Maybe? I don't know. What's good? I don't know. This noise is weird. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I figured out what it is. So, I guess I turned the air conditioning up more, which normally wouldn't be a problem. But what has happened is that there is a crack between the door. And the air wants to leave the room for some reason. And thus, it is the air trying to get through the crack in the door. Specifically the side that's by the door hinge. I mean, yes, I know the air moves, but I've not had this before, and I've had the air turn down lower before. It's something to do with that, because when I open the door, the noise stops. Simple solution, remove the air. Yes, yes, yes. But yeah, anyways, when the door is open, it doesn't make that noise. And when I put my ear, my very long ear up to the crack, like you can feel the air wanting to move. Maybe it's an air pressure thing, which is weird because the door was open. I don't know. I turned the ceiling fan on in hopes that maybe... I don't know. I don't know. I have angered the air. Yes, I guess I have. I don't know. I don't know. Not sure. Not sure. No, it's not an accident. YouTube doesn't show up on the stream because YouTube misbehaves sometimes. You know, I hate that I have to keep saying that. I hate that I have to keep saying that because I really think YouTube can behave. And I don't want to keep saying, oh, they misbehave. And like that just, you know, it sounds like I'm kicking them while they're down. So I don't really want to do that. But yeah, that's intentional. Replace the air with liquid, then you can see where it's all going. I mean, I know where it's going. It's trying to get out the door. It's just odd. It's just odd, that's all. That's all. Anyways, I'm supposed to be pulling up stuff. Yes, we do. I see you, the YouTube, and the mods see you, YouTube. Yes, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Let's see. We gotta pull up the primer. The primer, the primer. Are you guys excited? Are you guys excited? Say yes. Better say yes. Oh shoot, I was supposed to email someone. Oh well. I'll email them later. Oops. Oops, I got distracted with the dinner. I got distracted with dinner. And, here we are. I have AC on full blast and still 85 in there. Do you have it turned down? You have it turned down. Is the temperature... I made my Homebrew Legion for Warhammer. Just a random thing. Yeah, that's fun, isn't it? Did you make it them the 2nd or the 11th Legion? Alright, let's do this, and then we're gonna do that, and I gotta do some cropping magic. 1 second, gentlemen. Okay. I'm doing the cropping while, we talk. Is everyone having a good day? Is everyone having a good time or a good enough time? That should be good. That should be good. Miku's stuck in my head right now. Unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. Depending on how you look at it. That'll work. That should be good. I think that'll work. Ooh-wee ooh. Yes. Yep. Oh, and let me go through the subs. Sorry, Captain Rex, thank you for the 17 months. Arthur for the 3 months. I appreciate it, you guys. Your support means a lot to me. I just joined and I'm already scared. What do we do? Oh no, no, you're fine. It's not YouTube specifically. It's because YouTube doesn't have a very good interface. And if the mods deleted a message on YouTube, it won't disappear off the screen. So someone could like say slurs, and even if the mods deleted it right away, it would still appear on the screen. And I'm not getting in trouble for that. I'm not getting in trouble for that. Aeromage, thank you for the 5 gifted, man. Thank you for the 5 gifted. A question, did you prompt the other day or was that completely by itself? I'm curious. I'm curious. I might need to have a break to get water, just letting you know. Gift subs for slurs? Why would you say that? That's not appropriate. That's That's not appropriate. What? Arrowmage, you've been here for a bit. Why would you say that? Why? Brother, don't say that. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get clipped out of context. Then I'm like, wow, Aurelia's chat like gifts her when she says slurs. And they're gonna be like, oh, what slurs does she say? It's like, no, she said the word slurs. Oh my gosh. Ugh. She said knife here. Well, I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to say that, okay? You have to ask me for the pass, okay? You have to ask me for the pass. Oh my gosh. Oh. Are we free to say greenskins? Yeah, the orcs don't have feelings. They're not important enough feelings. Not important enough. All right, so should we start? Do you guys want to chat a little bit, or should we just get into it? We've got 40 pages of content to go through. Do you want to chat for a little bit, or do we just start reading? I don't care if I'm racist to orcs. I don't care. I don't care. Does your Discord have a place where I can show off my Legion? I would like for others to see it. I would say, let me look at the channels, because we got a couple. I would say stories and tales is probably the best channel for it. That's probably the best one. 40 good pages of lore. This has got to be the most detailed fan chapter I've seen. I don't know that for a fact, but I would like to say I had some lovely community members that wrote all the lore for this. Kyber, Kix, Shadow Revan, Kix Rips, I should say his whole name. Sorry, we'll go whole names. I abbreviate them because it's easier. Kybernicus, Shadow Revan, Kix Rips, and then Chroma Kias did all the art. So shout out to them, cause they did a great job. I came up with the name because people always ask me if I had a special chapter, what they would be called, and I'm like, the Radiant Suns. That's a name I came up with a while ago, and they just said, hey, can we like make lore? And then they just did it. So it's a work of love on their part, and I love it. So are you saying you're an Eldar Adeptus Custodes? Whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't say that. I'm an abhuman. I'm an abhuman, okay? You're new here. I'll cut you some slack. I'm an abhuman. Anyways, we're gonna go and we're gonna read. We're gonna do some reading. Chat, we gonna read today. So I'm reading all this. This will be fun. We're gonna turn. We're gonna start from the beginning. I know I read part of it already, but let me think. I think I'm gonna turn memes off and the sounds off guys. We'll have items on and model toggly things on, but we're not going to do all the noises. I think I will also record this. I didn't pull it up. Audacity. I'm also gonna record me talking. Don't ask me when I'm gonna get a complete recording done. Who knows when I'm gonna get that to you guys, so don't ask me for it. Unless you're one of the 3 or 4 I just mentioned, they can ask me about it. They're allowed to ask, but who knows when that'll be. Okay, let me make sure. Are they all turned off, the sound ones? Can you guys see them or no? Yes. Have a very good night. Have a good time. It's the fan fiction moment. Yeah. Yep. But it's very chill. Very chill. Swarm, thank you for the super chat. Oi, what do you mean orcs don't have feelings? We have plenty of things. I love the feeling of my fist crump in the face of a get. Okay, fair enough. You guys do have feelings, yes. Okay, guys, it's not like that kind of fanfic. It is fiction written by the fans, but it's not spicy, guys. I sure hope not. That would be awkward, like, no hand holding allowed, no. Stop it, even my mods, oh my gosh. Get out of here. Where'd chat go? Did chat disappear? Where did chat go? Hello chat, there you are, hi. I don't know why you disappeared. Oh, I accidentally toggled the wrong thing, oops. You guys are fine. You're back. You're okay. Anyways, good thing that wasn't on the screen. Spicy in the safe for work way? You mean like spicy as in this food is spicy? Did you see my question in the mod chat? Let me see. Let me look at your question. Sure. Could one of you guys, yes, mods, I am gonna go do that thing right now. Can one of you reveal the channel, please? All right, gentlemen, I was going to wait until later. Hang on. I need to do one thing. Okay. Chat. Important thing I need to tell you guys about. We are having a miniature painting competition in celebration of the primer being released. What does that mean? What does that entail? Well, it will all be spelled out in the Discord, but I will go through everything as well. It is specifically a Space Marine competition. I know you guys have other things you want to paint, but we are celebrating the launch of the primer, which is Space Marines. So, purely Space Marines and Space Marine related vehicles. So that can be Land Raiders, that can be your tanks, that can be dreadnoughts. It just has to, you know, be Space Marine, fit in the Space Marine category. I'll answer questions here in a second, so save all questions till the end, please. There is a lovely link, so join the Discord. That's where you're gonna find the form to submit everything. There are prizes. There are 3 categories. The winner of each category, so first place, is going to get a $50 Amazon gift card, and then there is Best in Show. And if you win Best in Show, you get a Land Raider. The miniature. I'm not sending you an actual Land Raider. That'd be silly. But I will be sending you one for free. So there are 3 categories. We have single miniatures, which are miniatures that are the base cutoff is up to 50 millimeters. We've got large miniatures, generally vehicles and dreadnoughts will be in this category. And then the 3rd category is unit/kill teams. So it'll be a group of 2 to 12 models. This includes smaller vehicles such as bike squads. All of this information is in the Discord. There's pictures and stuff. Now, contest rules. Entries must be on a gaming base or a proper display base, unless it is a vehicle. There are some exceptions there. Miniatures must be painted between the dates of June 21st of this year to September 30th. The deadline for the mini submission is September 30th. Now, why do you have the date back in June? Is because that is when we release the primer. And I know some people have already painted Radiant Suns minis. Oh yeah, I should say, you're painting Radiant Suns, not any Space Marines. Perhaps I should clarify that. It's in the FAQ. You're painting Radiant Suns. We're not painting Ultramarines. We're not painting Salamanders. We're painting Radiant Suns. Sorry, that I forgot to clarify that. That's a very important note. I know some people painted their minis right after the primer was released, and I don't want to punish them for being excited and painting their minis. So if you paint them before, you can still submit them. Don't worry. Each participant may enter multiple categories, but only 1 entry per category. Maximum of 5 photos allowed per miniature per category. And you must have painted the miniature yourself. No commissions or team entries. So, I already said the prizes. FAQs. I'll frequently asked questions here. Do I have to paint Space Marines? Yes. Yes. Do they have to be Radiant Suns? Also yes, but don't let that constrain you too much. This is a fan-made... This whole set of lore is all fan-made, and it is not something... We'll read this here in a second in the codex and the primer here, but it is not the end-all be-all. You can have a lot of creative freedom. If you want to paint an apothecary and you're like, I really think it would be cool if they were all white but had these teal helmets to represent their home world. Actually, I might add a little section for the competition where you can write a little blurb about your guys. I will do that. Mods, can you add a note that I should do that thing? I will do that tonight. I will leave a section where you can write a small paragraph about your guys, because I think that context will be very helpful for when I am judging. So there's that. But you can have some freedom with it. They don't have to be red and gold. You could be like, I want them to be black, and this is the reason why they're black, and they're this one special unit. You can be creative, you can be clever. And yes, there are 3 different flavors of Radiant Sun, so you got options too. You can submit miniatures that you painted since the codex was released. You do not have to use GW minis. You can print them. You can kit bash to your heart's content. With that, I will say, we have some things available for you guys. Bahamut Bard, one of my moderators, decided to reach out to a 3D modeler to have some shoulder guards, to have some swords, and to have some shields made, so that if you guys wanted to kit bash your stuff, you can. So there's 2 ways you can get it. Currently, I have them up for free. There is a link in the Discord. I have the STL files up for free if you want to print them yourself, and I'm in the process of getting my miniature guy to put them up as a listing in his store if you don't have a 3D printer. That's not set up yet, but it should be set up by the weekend. I will make an announcement when it is available. And I think Bard said he has a second round of extra bits being made. So those will come later. So if you want to hold off for a little bit before, you start painting, maybe wait a little bit longer if you want to have some 3D printed bits. You don't need a subscription or a membership to enter, and your entry does not have to be legal in any game sense. So yeah, I think that's it. Are there any questions I can answer now for any of you guys? What bits are 3D printed again? Here, I will post the link. This link that I'm sending is for the free files. So we have pauldrons, we have 2 swords, or it's basically one sword but 2 different hand positions, and then 3 different shields. So yeah, and don't worry guys, the primer also gives some information on the general color scheme. Also, if you want the primer, go join the Discord. There's more information there. I'm gonna make a post on YouTube about this, so you can find a ton of information. Let me actually add a link. Hang on, I'm adding. Okay, I added more information to the channel in the Discord server. So, okay. So now, questions. Sorry I joined in late, but are these for Space Marines or for Custodes? Space Marines, specifically the Radiant Suns, my custom chapter. Is your model considered a Space Marine for this contest? You know what? Okay. I will allow, if you have a kill team, I can be one of your miniatures. That I will allow that. That is a great question. Yeah, if you want a kill team, if you want to make a kill team and you want me in it, that's allowed. I will change this right now. On. Oh my gosh. There. Okay, I've added that. That's a great question. Does your chapter provide free ice cream? Well, we're gonna find out. Probably not, nobody. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, Mateo, thank you so much for the super chat. Don't worry. It's not that much of a distraction. I haven't known you for very long, but congratulations on the initiative and the project. Oh, well, thank you. Thanks, man. I'm very excited about this. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Would any of the shoulder pads work with a 1999 Space Marine Terminator? I don't know. Your best bet is to probably print it yourself to see if it fits. Oh, there you go. Bard answered your question. He said yes. I am new here, but I look forward to hearing about your fan chapter. Well, thank you, Ice Phoenix. I appreciate it. And if you want to, skip hearing me read it the whole time, I highly recommend reading it yourself in the Discord. Can I paint an orc boy as a Radiant Sun? No. Unfortunately, no. I appreciate the creativity, but we're really focusing on highlighting aspects of the chapter. I know, it is compelling. It sounds like it would be funny, but it does sound like it would be funny, but it won't be considered. I mean, you can paint it. You can paint that. It just won't be considered for the competition. How alive must the radiant sun be? I mean, I guess they could be dead, but let me make it clear, they should be the, like, mini. They're not the dead mini at some other character's feet. Let's make that clear. Does the radiant sun have to be in armor? I'm worried. I'm concerned by your question. I would say, yeah. Yeah, they should be dressed. It's hard to swim in Belos in full armor. Yeah. Talk to the mods about your idea, and the mods will send it to me, and we'll discuss. If you do something that is like lore related and it's not like risque or not safe for work, perhaps we will allow it. Because I don't want to limit you guys too much. I know Space Marine's already really limiting, but them not wearing armor is a bit... Can one have served in the Death Watch? Sure. Yes, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, different color shoulder pads. You can do all the kit bashing you want. Unless it involves orcs. Can we include any vehicles with the units? If you're going to do that, you're going to want to go under unit/kill team. That's where you're going to want to submit your minis. Any other questions? If you guys have questions, there is a channel called Mini Competition where you guys can ask questions of the mods. I will keep an eye out in there and answer your questions. I will be posting the links for the listing for the little bits and bobs from my mini painter, but currently you can already get the file for the STLs. So, can they be psychers? Librarians, yes. But yeah, if you have lore questions, there's a lot of places you can talk lore. Where's the color palette again? It's at the very end of the primer in the Discord server. But I'll make a post about this. Definitely read through the primer if you want to get a head start on it before, you know, I'm going to take my time reading this whole thing. We've got 40 pages. Realistically, like 30 full pages. We'll see how fast this goes. Okay, chat, we will begin now. I don't see any more questions I can answer right now. Do we need popcorn? I don't know. Do you want popcorn? Do you need popcorn? Okay. Okay. My urge to make a radiant Skaven needs to calm down. You should still paint it. That sounds funny. Sounds funny. Okay. They also did all of this cool looking art for the cover. It looks wonderful. It's beautiful. The Radiant Suns primer. Oh wait, I gotta start my recording. Okay. The recording going? Okay, it hears me. That's good. This is good. The Radiant Suns Primer. Wrath of the Angel, Rage of the Saint, burn in our radiance. Battle cries of the Radiant Suns chapter. It is the 42nd millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Radiant Suns have spread the light of humanity outwards from the Sirius system. They are the wardens of the Solar Bastion, the admirals of the Twilight Fleet, the masters of Balos. They are a fractured chapter desperately trying to unlock ancient secrets from the dark age of technology. They are but one of the 1,000 bloody spears of the vast imperium of man, for which 1,000 wars are waged every day, so that it may never truly die. Yet, even in their degraded state, the Radiant Suns continue their mission. Mighty armadas cut their way across the galaxy, slaying all enemies of mankind in their path. Their will to succeed undaunted, since the days they sailed alongside Aurelia Tempris. Innumerable ships ferried the spoils of 100 liberated worlds to their homeworld of Balos, bringing untold glories and honors to its people. A new chapter master has ascended, one who vows to reforge the disparate elements of his chapter back into a shining example for all of humanity. His comrades in arms are legion, the Tempris Auxilia and its mighty expeditionary forces, the ever-faithful Order of the Burning Saint, and the Imperial Knights of House Neos, or to name only a few. But for all their multitudes, they are barely enough to hold off the ever-present threat to humanity from the aliens, heretics, mutants, and far, far worse. To be a Radiant Sun in such times is to be a scion of these ancient traditions. It is to fight for one of the most ancient and storied chapters of the blood. These are the tales of those times. Delve the depths of the Solar Bastion to reclaim the power of humanity's lost technologies. Sail the vast blackness of the void, conquering all who stand against the Imperium. For in the grim dark future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of crusading and glory, and the light of the God Emperor. Wah, chef's kiss. Creators, I am now paranoid. I said the Night House name wrong. I ask you guys every time how to say it, and I forget it every time. Balos? Right? Balos. Correct? We should have prepared custom music for this? Yeah, perhaps. Perhaps. Just make sure I'm saying it right, because I'm so paranoid every time I say it now. I'm making sure I say the planet name right. They know what I'm talking about. Is it Belos or Balos? Anyways, that's me. That's Tempris Auxilia guy. Radiant Sun. Look at that guy. He's so dripped out. And that's Steve. Hi, Steve. Oh, we love Steve. Introduction. Ooh. Can we just look at this, this chaplain here? Look at that drip. Look at that drip. He does have the iron halo. I like the points. Balos. Balos. Okay. I'm so paranoid. No one expects the Radiant Sun's chaplain. Welcome, Battle Brother, to the Radiant Suns Primer. In this short booklet, you will be introduced to the history and lore of the Radiant Suns Space Marine chapter. As the personal chapter of Aurelia Tempris, this primer should be taken as part of a larger community-wide collaboration effort, serving as an optional foundation for you to make your own stories and characters to share within the wider Tempris Auxilia. Please note that this primer is in no way, shape, or form official or canonical. At the end of the day, we are all battle brothers within the Tempris Auxilia, each with our own stories to tell. Whether you choose to use, borrow from, or entirely ignore this primer for your own version of the Radiant Suns is up to you. This primer only exists to hopefully inspire the community. General information. The Radiant Sons are a successor chapter of the Blood Angels. Created during the Second Founding, their origins are mired in darkness and secrecy, fermenting rumors amongst their... I'll make sure I said that right. Fermenting rumors amongst their fellow chapters of the Blood. For thousands of years, it has been conjectured that they are mere puppets of the Adeptus Custodes, always seen accompanying... I messed this up last time! Always seen accompanying a certain custodian on her missions throughout the millennia. Others consider them opportunistic hunters, often found waiting in ambush while their enemies play bloody havoc on Imperial forces, only to swoop in at the last moment to steal the glory. Further still, a select few whisper in the shadowed halls of their fortress monasteries that they are a black mark upon all the Sons of the Blood, trying to make amends for their untold actions and unforgiven sins. The real history, as is so often the case, is a murky, shadowy nexus of forgotten truths and half-remembered lies. Fomenting. I am not familiar with that word. One second. Ah, fomenting. I did not know that was a word. I'll say it again really fast. Fomenting rumors among their fellow chapters of the Blood. That's for me for later. That's for me for later. Oh, there we go. The three fleets. Overall, the Radiant Sons are broken up into three main Crusade fleets, each with their own culture and mission. In practice, each of these entities operates semi-independently, with the overarching chapter master residing within the main chapter stronghold, the Solar Bastion. Overall, the three fleets are as follows. Night Fleet. Based out of the chapter's primary recruitment world of Belos, Night Fleet oversees a small, informal trade empire of reconquered worlds and systems. While not nominally in charge of these systems, the fleet owns and operates a large fleet of smaller escort vessels that patrol the regions they lay claim to. As Belos is located near the storm of the Emperor's Wrath, the protection of Night Fleet is seen as a tremendous boon for all systems that are part of the chapter's domain. Twilight Fleet. Operating entirely in the void, Twilight Fleet is the largest single armada of ships that the chapter possesses. Comprised of innumerable ships of all sizes, ages, and patterns, Twilight Fleet bridges the gap between day and night fleets, providing transportation of key resources back to chapter high command and steady communication throughout the chapter. Every so often, the core Twilight Fleet will reach a size deemed too conspicuous for Imperial authorities and send out smaller Crusade detachments to operate independently. In so doing, they increase the range and the might of the Twilight Fleet as a whole, with these smaller fleets being expected to grow and develop into larger fleets themselves. Day Fleet. Working closely with Aurelia Tempris and the commanding chapter out of the secretive Solar Bastion, Day Fleet primarily serves as a defensive force for the ancient space station they call home. As direct descendants of the original founding Radiant Sun Space Marines, this fleet also serves as the spiritual heart of the chapter, keeping record of their chapter history and traditions across all three fleets. These Marines also routinely brave the techno-horrors of the Solar Bastion as they continue their mission to map out and discover the true purpose of the ancient space station. There you go. And Smoothie, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm kind of late, but hey, I've been busy building my Custodes combat patrol. You are excused. You're excused. I'm excited that you're working on those. I'm feeling compelled to work the Radiant Sons into a story I have about my own homebrew chapter. Do whatever you want with this. Do what you want. I am putting together a a short story competition. I don't usually do prizes for short stories. I don't do cash prizes generally, but keep an eye out, because I know some people aren't into painting, but they really like writing. So I'll have another competition. We'll have like a whole celebration when we're done with the competition. Genetic flaw. Descending from blood angels who fought alongside their Primarch during the boarding of the Vengeful Spirit in the last days of the heresy, the Radiant Sons carry a spiritual guilt that haunts every member of the chapter. This psychic guilt manifests itself in unique ways from Marine to Marine. Some Marines find themselves with an insatiable need to prove themselves in combat. Others will feel the need to recklessly endanger themselves for the sake of others, even at the cost of mission objectives. Some extreme cases have shown Radiant Sons Marines intentionally allowing battles or other such critical situations to spiral to such an extent that disaster seems inevitable, only to then step in to resolve the problem. Each Radiant Son will experience the memories of their founders during the time aboard the Vengeful Spirit, witnessing the exact moment of Sanguinius's death and the ensuing black rage in their dreams. Within the chapter, this phenomena has been called the Red Dream. Over time, as Radiant Sons Marines age, the Red Dream will grow clearer and occur more frequently, with the chapter's ancients being noted to have these visions nightly. The effect of these dreams and the sensation of falling to the black rage grows stronger with every experience. It should come as no surprise, then, that discussion of the dream is seen as taboo amongst the chapter. Each Marine is expected to bear the weight of conscience with the same bravado or stoic demeanor as their fellow brothers. Thus, it is seen as a sign of weakness when one of their number fall into the black rage, as it is seen as a normal or even justified. As it is seen as normal or even justified that they must suffer for their predecessors' perceived failure to save their gene father. Lastly, it should be noted that in a cruel twist of irony, the constant long-term exposure to these guilt-ridden dreams and feelings of the rage via the Red Dream give the Radiant Sons a particularly strong resistance to the actual black rage. They, of course, ascribe this resistance to their connection to the Crimson Widow, not being able to accept their own role in this unexpected strength. Here, some of you guys are asking about colors. You're on page 7. 1 second, let me get your picture. Here you go. Here, big picture. Enjoy. Mostly red. We got gold trim. Black knee pad here. Sometimes black pauldron. 1 second, there's more. Wait, I'm just gonna scroll this way. Let's be faster. 1 moment. Un momento. This is also another recommendation. A recommendation on how to paint. We'll talk about this later, but this is one Marine that one of our community members, Bahamut Bard, painted. Is a very nice guy. We also have this, so here's the side, and then we have this one here by Caro. So different shade of red. Yeah, we love the red and gold. And then here's some more art. There you go. Hope that answers your question. And if you guys have questions and you're like, Aurelia, you're reading too slow, go to the Discord. Go to the Discord and you can find the primer there. I love the color scheme. I'm a sucker for red paint job. I would say I came up with 80% of the color scheme. Because I like gold, so I'm like red, but with like a lot of gold trim and detail. They added the black. So I say I came up with 80%. I'll even settle for 75%. Yeah, this was like way back when I was first streaming, because people asked me. And that was my answer, so. Can we make Radiant Suns in Space Marine 2? I know some individuals that have done that. I don't have a tutorial for it, but I've even tried my hand at making Radiant Suns. Okay. I'm gonna take a little sip. Death Company. Throughout all successor chapters of the Blood Angels, one constant remains true for all the Scions of the Ninth: the inevitability of the Black Rage. Each chapter deals with this inescapable fate differently. Many chapters group their fallen Marines into death companies to use as shock troops, allowing them to find absolution from the rage in death. Other chapters execute those who succumb to the rage, seeing them as a threat to the chapter and to their fellow brothers. For the Radiant Suns, they fall into the latter category, due to their genetic flaw constantly exposing them to the effects of the Black Rage during their sleep. Most Radiant Suns become highly resistant to the rage. This resistance, when added to their propensity to recklessly endanger themselves for the sake of others, leads to most Radiant Suns never actually falling to the Black Rage. This has led to a sense of pride amongst the Radiant Suns, who view falling to the rage as one of the greatest shames one could suffer. The commonality of their ancestral guilt and internalized mental suffering permeates the chapter, creating a culture where it is seen as noble to endure in silence. The Radiant Suns therefore stigmatize those who fall short. Those who embrace the Black Rage for strength, or otherwise fall to it in times of great distress, are seen as weak compared to their brothers, who suffer the call of the rage without complaint. Just as each arm of the chapter has its own battle doctrines and cultures, each of the 3 Crusade fleets has their own ritual of passing to remove their fallen brother. For Marines of the Night Fleet, they have the Walk of the Ocean. Fallen Radiant Sons of Belos are taken to the depths of their homeworld's oceans, left with only their blade and a single magazine of underwater bolter rounds. There, the rage-stricken Marines are released to kill as many of the world's vicious sea monsters before they are eventually killed in turn. In this way, the Marine regains some of his lost honor by slaying some of the deadly beasts that prey upon the people of Belos. For the Twilight Fleet, they utilize the Walk of the Void. The Marines of the Twilight Fleet believe that the chill of space purifies their fallen brethren. Therefore, those lost to the rage are corralled into the ship's airlocks before being released to space. Former comrades of these Marines are often called to observe the walk as witnesses, providing the rage-stricken Marines some last comfort in their final moments. Aboard the Solar Bastion, Day Fleet Marines who fall to the Black Rage are sent on the Walk of the Sun. Throughout the superstructure of the Bastion, there are numerous ancient solar observation chambers. These rooms are specially tied into the shield arrays that protect the Solar Bastion from the heat of the star it is suspended upon. The Walk of the Sun therefore entails that the fallen Radiant Sun complete a walk from one end of these chambers to the other end, with the solar light reducing with each step. By the end of the walk, the sheer amount of light energy passing into the room will be enough to ignite all organic matter, including the rage-stricken Marine. This method of purification from the rage is seen as the most honorable throughout the entire chapter, as it is believed that the light of the sun cleanses the Marine's soul as well as their body. The Radiant Suns would have a therapist face-palming, I think. Well, perhaps. Perhaps. How long did it take you to make everything look like this? Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't make this. I didn't make this. How long did guys take you? A hot minute? How long did it take you? I think I saw, Shadows here. I saw Kyber's here. No, I saw Chroma was here. I didn't see Kyber or Kix. We started around a year ago. Hi, Kyber. There you are. Hello. I didn't see you there. Wow. It took them a long time. It took them a long time. Didn't they do a great job? So, alright. Reclusium. In ages past, the Radiant Sun's chaplaincy was much akin to most of the other Blood Angels chapters, wherein they tended to their rage-maddened brothers. However, as Belosian culture has spread further throughout the chapter, changes began to pile up over the years. The fierce pride and primacy of personal honor espoused by the Belosians eventually turned the chapter away from using a death company, which was already a much smaller force than those in their brother chapters due to the Radiant Sun's enhanced resistance to the rage. As the centuries progressed, it became seen as more honorable that those who fell to the rage be euthanized via various rituals of passing. Thus, now in lieu of leading the death company, the Reclusium of the Radiant Suns performs other duties. Headed by the chapter exemplar, who serves as both the Master of Sanctity and the chapter champion, the Radiant Sun's chaplains primarily travel throughout the different fleets, providing wise counsel and searching for signs of the rage in their fellow Marines. Those who are found to be slipping into early stages of the Black Rage are then transported to the Solar Bastion, where the Reclusiarch, known in the chapter as the Monsignor, will attempt to guide the Marine away from the darkness. Those who fail to turn away from the rage, or who are discovered too late by the chaplains, are sent off to their fleet's respective ritual. It should be noted that most chaplains in the present day are of direct Belosian origin. Their intense focus on finding those at risk of falling to the rage is matched only by their zealous belief in the cult of the Sanguinary Union, the chapter's cult. This chapter cult is based on the sacred marriage of Aurelia Tempris to their gene father, Sanguinius. In their beliefs, this union passed on some of the spiritual authority over the Blood Angels, Legion to Aurelia Tempris, who, by showing favor to the Radiant Suns, has placed higher demands of excellence upon the chapter. Therefore, strict adherence to chapter traditions and dogmas is fiercely maintained by the chaplaincy and the justiciars. Yes? Deviation from this path is met with harsh punishment. Additionally, each chapter master since the rise of Belosian culture in the chapter has been the chapter exemplar, thus reinforcing the chapter cult even further. Personal weakness is scorned and stigmatized, with the chaplains upholding exceedingly high and exacting standards of excellence throughout the chapter. Those Marines found even minutely lacking in skill are forced into deadly training sessions found demanding even by veteran Astartes. Told to adapt or die, those Marines who are put under chaplain purview are either come out of their punishment assignments as skilled warriors or are never heard from again. Smoothie, thank you so much for the super chat. Do you ever plan on making a react stream video about fan-made 40k songs? If so, I have some suggestions. I think I might have listened to a couple at one point. It gets to a point where they can be irksome to me. I have standards for which songs I like, and I've been recommended some that ended up being okay. So, someone put you in the chapter, that's so cool. This is my custom chapter. So yes, of course I would be in it. But you probably didn't know, you probably just joined us. These are my custom boys that my community wrote about. Alright. Sanguinary Priesthood. Like most Blood Angel successor chapters, the Radiant Sun's Apothecarian is staffed with sanguinary priests who fulfill both the roles of a battlefield medic and a spiritual guide for their brother Marines. However, as the Radiant Suns do not possess active death companies for their chaplains to oversee, the latter responsibilities of the priesthood often overlap with those of the Reclusium. Despite this intersection of duties, there are few reports of conflicts arising between either office. Instead, both the sanguinary priests and chaplains involve themselves in the health of their battle brothers in different ways. Whereas the chaplains will oversee the spiritual health of the Radiant Sons. At a broader scale, the Radiant Sons' sanguinary priesthood take on a more personal approach. In between the various checkups, surgeries, and blood rites that the sanguinary priesthood oversee, they will also perform neurological and mental health evaluations of their brother Marines to gauge what stage their genetic defect is at. They provide those Radiant Sons who suffer the Red Dream most frequently a confidential ear to speak candidly to, as it is seen as socially shameful to discuss the personal effects of the dream. The sanguinary priesthood of the Radiant Sons offer their brothers a rare shoulder to lean on in times of great distress. They exist as one of the few organizations within the present-day chapter who do not fully adhere to the tenets of the chapter cult, and therefore do not harshly judge their fellow Marines for their moments of weakness. So, I wasn't going to say anything, but, they do have therapists. In a very loose sense, they have therapists. However, despite their understanding nature, if one of the Radiant Sons fall to the rage, it is the responsibility of the sanguinary priesthood to aid the chaplains in subduing the fallen Marine, utilizing special tonics and toxins. Sanguinary priests are able to restrain black rage strength in Marines. Additionally, the sanguinary priests are charged with extracting and studying the gene seed of those Marines prior to their fleet's respective ritual of passing. For the gene seed of those who fell to the black rage are allowed to be given to a future aspirant, it must first be spiritually cleansed and medically studied. If any unusual findings are observed from the gene seed, the samples will be quarantined and experimented on to discover any potential insights to their chapter's genetic guilt. It is the hope of the Radiant Sons' sanguinary priesthood to one day unlock the secrets of the 9th Legion's genetic flaw to allow all successors of the Blood Angels to one day live free of the red thirst and the black rage. The Librarian. The Scions of the Great Angels have always had a history of psychic ability due to the mutations inherent in their gene seed. The Radiant Sons continue this legacy by maintaining a strong core of librarians. Headquartered aboard the flagship of the Twilight Fleet, the battle barge Vinculum de Sangre, the Librarius makes use of the mobility provided by Twilight Fleet to scour the galaxy for warp-attuned materials, strange psychic phenomena, and potential psychic recruits for the chapter. Due to the prevalence of the cult in the blah 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 blah. Due to the prevalence of the cult of the Sanguinary Union, librarians are held in higher regard within the Radiant Sons than in many other Space Marine chapters, owing to their central foundational figure, Aurelia Tempris, being a powerful psyker abhuman within the Adeptus Custodes. The Radiant Sons associate psychic ability with leadership. The Radiant Sons associate psychic ability with leadership. This belief is fortified by the fact that the librarians of the Radiant Sons were given advanced training techniques from Aurelia herself. Maybe. Can I get halfway? Yes. Chief among their abilities is their especially potent powers of divination. The Burning Saint was rumored to once possess extremely potent scrying abilities. The Burning Saint was rumored to once possess extremely potent scrying abilities, with her being able to predict future events with terrifying detail. The Radiant Sons librarians, likewise, have inherited the gift of psychic foresight from both their gene father and their spiritual mother. Their predictions are far more accurate and in-depth than many of their contemporaries. This has given them much renown amongst those Imperial forces who welcome the aid of the arcane. Oftentimes, the various librarians operating throughout Twilight Fleet will be contacted by brother chapters of the Blood for aid in their own scrying rituals. This lends to fellow Blood Angel successors viewing the Radiant Sons favorably due to Twilight Fleet's willingness to aid them. Additionally, this constant contact between the Librarius of the Radiant Sons with their brother Librarii promotes a continuous exchange of knowledge and experience amongst the different chapters, strengthening the Imperium in subtle ways. One last item of note for the librarians of the Radiant Suns is their proclivity for warp-based fire attacks. Many psychers manifest their warp powers in the form of warp lightning. However, the Radiant Suns librarians almost exclusively use arcane fire in combat. The design of their force staves reflect this pyromantic preference by almost uniformly mounting a brazier of fire atop the pole staff. I've read chunks of this already, and I laughed when I saw that the Radiant Suns librarians are like, yeah, we're really good at predicting the future because of our mom. Oh, I thought that was so funny. Okay, I will say, generally, I would be very sad about, you know, my sons falling to the Black Rage, because I thought about that. I will say I thought about it. I'm like, oh man, that's like really rough. The Radiant Suns, like, in general, falling to the Black Rage is really rough. How would I feel about my custom chapter? They're deciding to euthanize them instead of having them fight in battle. Here's a thought. It is a quicker death. It's a lot cleaner and probably less pain. With the exception of, you know, the Night Fleet. That one's probably the longest death, most likely. But I would say it's probably quicker, and it gives them a little bit more dignity than being in a death company. Not that I don't mind the death companies. The death companies serve a very unique purpose in that they can, you know, atone in battle. It's just kind of a rough situation. I know, I wish Space Marine 2 would let us do our own chapter sigil. Ugh, I wish I could do that. I really wish. I wish. Grumpy, thank you so much for the bits. I was surfing some old YouTube videos. When are we getting an Aurelia Femstodes? Never. The armor stays on. The armor stays on. Anyways. Armory. When the first exploration missions of the Solar Bastion were undertaken by the founding members of the Radiant Suns, vast treasure troves of ancient technology were unearthed throughout the upper levels of the station. However, as the years ground on and lower levels of the Bastion were breached, the quantity of the archaeotech findings decreased. Much was damaged or otherwise degraded past operability the deeper the Imperials ventured. However, as the lower levels appeared to be older in construction than the upper floors, the quality of those rare few finds began to make up for their scarcity. The Armory of the Radiant Suns restores, maintains, and stockpiles a majority of the advanced archaeotech weaponry and armor that has been discovered aboard the Solar Bastion. Much of its arsenal is therefore comprised of irreplaceable pieces of ancient designs. Some of these weapons are completely unknown to the wider galaxy, having been entirely prototyped and fabricated within the halls of the Bastions at some point in humanity's distant past. For this reason, general chapter policy is to not remove any examples of unique technology from the Bastion unless absolutely necessary. This practice was put into place following the chapter's involvement in the War of the Beast to prevent outside eyes from the Inquisition or Adeptus Mechanicus from discovering that the Suns had access to previously unknown caches of advanced archaeotech. In order to maintain this extensive inventory of largely one-off and bespoke pieces of ancient technology, the Radiant Suns employs a large number of tech marines. While Twilight Fleet possesses the greatest number of these specialized marines, Night and Day fleets often compete for who has the second most tech marines. This back-and-forth deployment of their Mars-top brethren comes down to the ebbing and flowing of technological discoveries made in the Bastion. Normally, a large number of tech marines are stationed aboard the Radiant Sun's headquarters to aid their mortal contingents in studying the ancient technologies found within the depths of the Bastion. However, with new dangers arising to threaten Belos and its allied systems, these marines are called upon to aid Night Fleet in their operations. Radiant Sun's tech marines are therefore renowned amongst their brother chapters for their particular skill in void ship maintenance and in their knowledge of arcane or lost technology. Additionally, in keeping with Blood Angel tradition, these marines also serve as artisans for their battle brothers, aiding them in the armor modifications and adornments that denote seniority and veterancy per their respective fleet's customs. Lastly, within the Radiant Suns chapter itself, tech marines are often seen to be the most poetically minded of all their fellow battle brothers. With many of the higher mysteries of the ancient technologies they study being esoteric in nature, they often have to resort to metaphor and simile to explain certain concepts to their more martially minded brothers. This has often led fellow tech marines competing with each other via poetry during their time in the forges. If one can withstand the heat of the furnaces, the crackling of live power, and the constant drum of machinery, one would be treated to what amounts to grand poetry battles amidst the ceaseless clanging of hammers. Sanguinary Guard. The Sanguinary Guard represent the pinnacle of martial prowess amongst all chapters of the Blood. They sometimes serve as bodyguards to chapter masters or other high-ranking chapter members. Their numbers are few for any chapter. However, the Radiant Suns have far fewer than most of their brother chapters. Due to the Radiant Sun's proclivity to recklessly put themselves into harm's way, few survive long enough to be considered worthy of assuming the position of a guardian of the Sacred Vow, the chapter's honor guard. However, those few who do earn the title are true masters of combat. Each of the guardians are assigned to protect key members or relics of the chapter. Each one is trusted with a powerful weapon or artifact from either the Solar Bastion explorations or from the founding days of the chapter. Every member is equipped with bespoke, enhanced power armor and gifted additional bio-enhancements to further improve their combat abilities. The Guardians of the Sacred Vow will often serve as wardens to the three blades of the chapter when they are not in use, as the bodyguards to the blades wielders in times of war, and as bodyguards to the blades wielders in times of war. These blades are extremely deadly weapons discovered by each respective crusade fleets. These blades hold significant importance to the chapter, and thus their protection is seen as paramount. The Guardians of the Sacred Vow are each willing to die to protect them. Outside of the leaders of the three fleets, only those of the Brotherhood of the Guardians are permitted to use these blades or otherwise grant their usage to another worthy champion of the chapter. Currently, their newest chapter master... why'd you guys do this to me? Isaias Garyon was one of the past guardians of the chapter. He now wields Sunstriker, Blade of the Radiant Suns, into combat. He is accompanied into war by his old squad mate, Scipio del Oceano, who has recently filled Isaias's role amongst the Guardians. Only time will tell how he fares in his honored position. Few Sanguinary Guard, Radiant Suns, or otherwise, live for very long. The weight of their responsibilities and the dangers they are called to face are far greater than any standard battle line marine. And as new threats emerge on the galactic stage, the strength and conviction of these Guardians of the Sacred Vow must rise to meet them. Do not ask me. Look at him. Isn't this guy cool? Isn't this guy just cool? Don't ask me to say his whole name, because I'm not gonna do it. Oh gosh. However Aurelia says it is the canon pronunciation, the founders only choose the letters. No! 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 Do you think I speak Spanish and you think I can say it all good? You should know your son's name. I'm just gonna call him... It's obviously supposed to be like Isaiah, but Isaias... That seems right to me. I don't want to try. Cheat. Ask Cha-Cha. I don't know. But look how cool he is. Look, he's just dripped out. Anyways. Look, he's also dripped out. Ooh. He is also very cool. Look at this guy. He's very nice. Oh. Isaiah, see, there you go. He won't send me a Mother's Day card? I think he would. He would. Chapter History. Born in Vengeance. In the waning hours of the Horus Heresy, as the arch-traitor lowered the shields to his warship, the Emperor, Constantine Valdor, Rogel Dorn, and Sanguinius rose to meet his challenge. With them, they brought the strongest and most battle-hardened of their forces to aid them in their infiltration of the vessel during Operation Anabasis. However, due to the arch-traitor's sorceries, the boarding parties were all scattered throughout the flagship, save for one group. Only Sanguinius and his company of Blood Angels made it to their designated teleportation target, Embarkation Deck 2. Fighting tooth and nail against the Sons of Horus, the Blood Angels suffered many casualties as they ground their way through the accursed ship's defenses. Eventually, they made their way deep enough into the traitor's flagship for Sanguinius to reach his brother. Ordering his sons to remain behind, the great angel went forth to meet his destiny. However, the psychic energies coursing throughout the vengeful spirit would warp reality aboard the vessel. The Blood Angels would become trapped in the inevitable city, a chaos realm of twisting, insane architecture. Thus, it was there, within an endless coiling streets of impossible design, that the Blood Angels would succumb to the first black rage at the moment of their Gene Father's death. It was there that the seeds of the Radiant Suns were sown. As the psychic shockwave of Sanguinius's death echoed through the warp, all Blood Angels throughout the Sol system were driven into a psychic berserker rage. Attacking friend and foe alike, the Scions of the Ninth Legion vented their fury for the loss of their Gene Father. However, some of the Blood Angels who were on the Vengeful Spirit were driven into an even deeper, more visceral version of the rage. Being so close to the epicenter of Sanguinius's death had affected some more than others, driving them, in their madness, to break off from the Anabasis company, slaughtering their way through the inevitable city and into the lower decks of the Vengeful Spirit. These few haunted souls would kill their way through the shadowed decks of the Arch-Traitor's flagship, being the last of the Blood Angels to recover from the rage that day. In fact, so deep was the hold the rage had on them that they only narrowly managed to escape the vengeful spirit before it eventually fled the Sol system. In the end, they survived, but at what cost? Their Gene Father and many of their battle brothers had fallen. They inexplicably remained. The guilt of their survival gnawed at them, and during the ensuing great scouring, they would unleash the fury of their shame. Their survivors rallied together and made a crusade of their own, recklessly throwing themselves at every ship and void station that flew the traitor's colors. They grew skilled in the ways of void combat, often adapting and refining the brutal tactics of their foes to better kill their enemies with. The last surviving members of the Revenant Legion burned in their souls as they sought absolution through combat. Scattered remnants. Many of the surviving Blood Angels from the Anabasis company internalized a great feeling of shame and guilt for their Primarch's death, with each one believing they could have done something to prevent it. Thus, in the ensuing years, while the remaining legionaries of the Ninth Legion broke up into separate chapters headed by the captains of the Anabasis company, many of the other surviving veterans of the Vengeful Spirit's boarding would break off from their brothers to bring death and vengeance to the traitors. Throughout the course of the scouring, these Astartes of the 9th Legion would pursue the fleeing traitors with a particular focus on the Sons of Horus, with reckless abandon, showing little regard to their own safety or survival. They made use of cunning ambushes, secretive boarding operations, and brutal psychological tactics on the fleeing traitor legions. Many surviving traitors soon found themselves prey aboard their own ships, as merciless blood angels hunted them from the shadows. Entire void ship populations were slaughtered by these broken Astartes, with the ensuing mountains of corpses being left behind for their loyalist kin to discover. From the sheer savagery shown during these assaults, the remaining Anabasis veterans would become known as the Vengeful Sons, not only for their single-minded resolve to avenge their gene father, but also as a reminder of the site of their greatest failure. However, as their numbers dwindled as a result of their near-suicidal resolve to atone for their shame, they encountered the Burning Saint, Aurelia Tempris. As Aurelia's personal flotilla fought with a battle group of Night Lord ships, the Vengeful Sons suddenly translated into the system. With a careless regard for their own safety, they plunged headfirst into the enemy lines. By that point, they had only a handful of scavenged civilian-grade ships left, having had to resort to piracy to maintain tactical momentum during their great hunt of the traitors. Ships of all classes and sizes found their way into the service of these grim-hearted Marines. By the battle's end, while all the Night Lord ships were rendered into dead, empty husks, only one severely damaged vessel of the Vengeful Sons remained. Upon making contact with Aurelia's fleet and abandoning their dying ship for her own, she met with the remaining veterans of the assault upon the Vengeful Spirit. When she heard their tale of penitence and vengeance, she declared their death-seeking streak as a wasteful use of her beloved's memory. Instead, she, as the bride of the angel, took oaths of loyalty from them and reforged their reckless doom-seeking into a deadly blade against the enemies of the Imperium. To solidify this pact, she retroactively christened them as a new chapter linked to the Second Founding. No longer would they be known as the Vengeful Sons, now they would serve as her Radiant Sons. Clandestinely moving the remaining Marines of this new chapter to her personal headquarters at the secretive Solar Bastion, she began refining the tactics and doctrines of this chapter, molding it into an efficient weapon of Imperial fury. Excuse me. Thus, from the waning days of the Great Scouring onwards, the Radiant Sons would send out crusading fleets from their secret fortress to bring death to the enemies of mankind. These fleets would carve out huge swaths of territory from traitors, mutants, Xenos, and far worse foes, folding the liberated worlds into the Imperial realm. However, for all the glory they earned from their exploits, the newfound loyalty to the Crimson Widow and the paramount importance of their duty in protecting the hidden fortress of the Solar Bastion led to a reputation of the chapter being distant and aloof. Likewise, their purposeful distancing from the remainder of the Ninth began to sow the seeds of distrust among the other loyalists, still on high tensions from the heresy. Their regrowth, despite having no visible recruitment efforts, cast suspicions upon the chapter as outsiders did not know where they received their reinforcements from. The Galactic Masquerade. The chapter, now under the direction of Aurelia Tempris, would be spirited away to the Sirius star system. There, they would find their new chapter headquarters waiting for them, a massive crimson void station of impossible scale. Acting as the secret fortress of the burgeoning chapter, the Solar Bastion would house the Radiant Sons for millennia to come. The Bastion plays host to innumerable secrets and dangers, making initial Imperial exploration difficult and costly. As soon as the veteran warriors of the Suns took command, though, progress began to quickly be made in mapping out the stellar megastructure. Over the course of several daring missions into the depths of the station, it quickly became obvious that the Bastion, for all its incomprehensible scale, was seemingly designed by human hands for some unknown and esoteric reason. The determination of this purpose thus became the primary mission of the entire chapter. To accomplish this daunting task, the chapter began to rapidly reorganize the mortal crewmen aboard the station to aid them in studying and reactivating the seemingly endless array of internal systems, turning the previously ragtag group of adventurous Imperials into a fully fledged society aboard the Solar Bastion. This strategy soon paid off as new discoveries heralded a bevy of new pieces of archaeotech. However, it seemed like for each new discovery, some lurking horror from humanity's past was waiting for the Imperials, leading to a nearly endless stream of Pyrrhic victories as the chapter delved ever deeper into the Bastion. Eventually, in the waning years of the 31st millennium, it became clear to Chapter High Command that they lacked the resources to fully complete their task. After exhaustive surveying, it was determined the internal dimensions of the Bastion vastly exceeded the already immense scope of its exterior facade. Additionally, the deeper they pressed into the superstructure, the more advanced and degraded the technologies they encountered became. They simply did not have the capacity to repair the station themselves. Therefore, to acquire the necessary components, it was agreed upon that their recently replenished fleets would venture out on gathering missions to obtain resources for continued repair and exploration. Taking inspiration from their zealous cousins, the Black Templars, the Radiant Sons began to send out these acquisition fleets under the guise of crusading. They purposefully shunned contact with their brother chapters to prevent any knowledge of their true nature of their task leaking out into the increasingly paranoid Imperium. For several hundred years, into M32, the Radiant Sons kept up a grand masquerade of secretive but effective crusades. Never taking part in joint operations with other chapters, the Radiant Sons did their best to avoid attention from their brethren as they struck out and captured vital resources and technologies for their battle brothers back home. However, this ruse would be shattered mid-millennium as a great beast would rise in the ruins of Ullanor, forcing the Sons into the spotlight as they joined the fight to save the Imperium. Twilight of the Beast. As the beasts, rose up from the ruins of Ullanor, creating the largest orc empire ever seen by the Imperium, humanity once again found itself on the back foot of galactic supremacy. As the shattered, still recovering forces of the Imperium scrambled to the defense of Terra once again, the Radiant Sons found themselves at an impasse. On one hand, due to their proximity to the Sol system, any attempts to reinforce Imperial forces on Terra from their home base in the Sirius system would immediately be detected, leading to the inevitable discovery of the Solar Bastion, an unacceptable breach in their orders from Aurelia to keep the station hidden. However, on the other hand, they were still Astartes sworn to defend the throne world, thus a drastic change in chapter organization would be required. Sending out clandestine messengers to the various acquisition fleets, the Radiant Sons Chapter Command reordered the separate fleets into its own, autonomous fleet-based subchapter. While still under the overarching command from the Radiant Sons aboard the Solar Bastion, the newly formed Crusading Fleet would operate under the codename Twilight, to serve as a shadow to the day fleet Radiant Sons based out of the Solar Bastion in the Sirius system. Okay, this makes me laugh because I didn't notice this before. Was that a Spy X Family reference there? Codename Twilight. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I need a okay, we got one more page and then we can take a little break. Oh gosh. Gentlemen, how am I gonna do this? Okay, well once we hit, okay, we got this, okay. It's a lot of reading because I have to read both columns. Oh, we got this. They would be directed to her, blah, blah, blah. They would be directed to harass the oncoming orc fleets as they tore a path to Terra. As the War of the Beast ground on, the Space Marines of the Twilight Fleet were forced to increasingly coordinate with fellow Astartes forces for the first time in centuries, using comparatively outdated tactics and pre-heresy era equipment as Compared to their intergalactic brothers, the Twilight Fleet Marines nonetheless proved their valor by coming to the aid of Terra after the return of Primarch Vulcan. Additionally, the Twilight Fleet would suffer grievous losses in the ensuing 3 battles of Ullanor, becoming the first Radiant Sons to fight alongside fellow Blood Angels since the boarding of the Vengeful Spirit. Eventually, after 3 grueling battles for the planet, Vulcan would vanquish the beast at the cost of his own life, leading to the collapse of the short-lived Orcish Empire. In the aftermath, many of the Radiant Sons who had divested a majority of its companies to the acquisition fleets lay slain, joining the innumerable Imperial heroes who gave their lives to defeat the beast. This sacrifice brought the chapter much honor. However, this honor also brought recognition, which, in turn, brought scrutiny from Imperial authorities. Where had this previously small and seemingly disparate chapter hailed from? Why did they not follow the Codex as prescribed by Primarch Guilliman? Why did they still retain such ancient technologies and traditions compared to their brother chapters? Call of the Sea. The population of the Solar Bastion had grown in the centuries since its rediscovery, lending an ample pool of genetically stable candidates for recruitment. Additionally, the hordes of archaeotech found aboard the station allowed the chapter to field powerful, if archaic, weapons and armor in comparison to the now degrading arsenals of the Imperium. Both of these advantages were necessary to combat the ancient techno-horrors lurking in the depths of the bastions. But at the same time, these unique benefits began to cause problems for the continued mission of the chapter in the wake of their role in the War of the Beast. Thus, to allay Imperial suspicions, the chapter began to search... Thus, to allay Imperial suspicions, the chapter began to search for recruitment worlds. Worlds with rich naval traditions were preferred due to the Radiant Sun's proclivity towards void warfare. Fighting upon the high seas often translated well to fighting in the final frontier. For decades, the chapter searched for an adequate recruitment world. However, they would stumble upon their preferred choice completely by accident. In the late 30-second Hey, there's a typo, guys. The 32nd millennium. In the late 32nd millennium, scattered reports of a large artificial moon-sized construct began circulating through the chapter's intelligence channels. With memories of the beast's battle moon still fresh in their minds, the chapter launched a full-scale crusade fleet towards the source of the rumors, a small backward system in the Ultima Segmentum known as the Belos system. Within the system, the Marines found a large oceanic world with tribal humans surviving amidst the local megafauna and turbulent weather caused by the byplay of its natural moon interacting with the artificial moon in the orbit of the planet. We will execute the scribe that made such an error ASAP. Wait, the scribe. I wonder which scribe did that. The 32nd millennium. The Belosian humans' tenacity and ability to carve out kingdoms amidst the horror of their death world lit a spark within the Radiant Sons. Belos would henceforth become the primary recruitment world of the chapter under the codename Night Fleet, as they would be the farthest out from the light of the Sirius system and the chapter headquarters therein. The martial pride of Belos would spawn a subculture of swordsmanship and naval prowess among the chapter. In the millennia henceforth, the influence of Belos on the chapter would only grow, leading to those of the Night Fleet based at the recruitment system to seemingly have a completely different chapter culture to those of the Twilight Fleet and Day Fleet, located perpetually in transit and at guard at the Bastion, respectively. Journey of 10,000 Steps. In the years following the War of the Beast and the discovery of Belos, the Radiant Sons would be forced into the Imperial spotlight. And while many in Chapter High Command wanted to return to their reclusive ways to maintain secrecy, their sudden participation in the War of the Beast meant that they could not simply disappear without more questions being raised. Instead, the chapter shifted to a more open and brazen identity. They would play the... I don't know how to pronounce that. Braggadocio? I'm learning new words today. How do you say that word, chat? Hang on, I might just plug it into Google. One moment. Hang on. Braggadocious?
Braggadocio.
Okay. They would play the braggadocios, the boisterous crusaders always swooping in during times of trouble to save the day. They would hang on. They would make a spectacle of their outwards-facing chapter elements that no imperial authority would think twice about their true nature. In so doing, the Radiant Suns would conceal their true goals from the entire galaxy. The old acquisition fleets would be permanently reorganized into small-scale, semi-independent crusade fleets, tasked with locating, extracting, and transporting the rare materials of the Bastion required under the guise of heroic conquest. Their base on Belos, once meant as a cover for their expansive recruitment pool, would be upgraded and reinforced, with local Radiant Suns forces spreading out to secure the region around Belos for chapter interests. Meanwhile, their Bastion-based fleets of ancient dreadnoughts and battleships would lie in wait throughout the systems around Sirius, serving as a deterrence for any would-be traveler in the area. In the following millennia, the Radiant Suns would begin to expand their operations throughout the Milky Way, always being careful to hide their true numbers. However, time degrades all things, and the inexorable march of entropy would change the chapter suitably over the years. In Belos, what once started as a convenient cover story grew to become a cultural juggernaut in the chapter, turning their once farcical crusading boisterousness into their genuine identity. Throughout the Twilight Fleet, the sheer number of offshoot armadas have made keeping track of their true naval assets all but impossible, bogging down future attempts at resource extractions. Meanwhile, at the Solar Bastion, the endless centuries of silent guardianship have desiccated fleet morale. 100 centuries have taken their toll on the chapter, even as new threats emerge in the galaxy. Bum, bum, bum. Ugh. Did you guys ever have to take those tests when you were like in elementary school? It was like reading comprehension, and then you had to read things out loud, and it was like how many words could you read accurately in a minute? I did good at those. I did well. It's clearly paying off. Except I still mess up words, but I will say these are more complicated words than the dog chased the yellow ball across the street. Timmy did not want his dog to run across the street. Nice reading. Thank you. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it. And thank you, Derek, for gifting a sub. I appreciate it, man. No, don't worry. Don't apologize, guys, for being late. Ugh. You read it well, I'll give you that. Thanks, man. I try to make it entertaining without being too boring. Oh, boy. I only read like 7 full pages. Oh my god. And some of them aren't full. Okay. Alright. Hang on, let me finish this. Let me go fill this up really fast. I'm gonna need a lot of water. And this is a good stopping point. Like, this is a nice break. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Yeah, we're on page 14 out of 35. It's fine. I'm fine. You're fine. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna fill this up because it's better for me to just do it now instead of in 5 minutes when I drink the rest of it. Be right back. We're finally at the Radiant Suns Beach episode. Oh gosh. Oh. Will there be a quiz? Yes. Yes, absolutely. There's gonna be a quiz. This might be a 2-stream project. No, we can... When did I start reading? It was... maybe an hour ago? An hour 20-ish. Well, we can make it work. Even if we go a little beyond. Okay. Belos. From the shining, shimmering seas. Wait, let me make sure to... Am I still running on... Yeah, okay, Audacity Storm. I didn't know if I paused it. Okay. From the shining, shimmering seas to the glistening silver stars, we ply the waves o'er heaven, bring light where'er we are. Snippet from the Song of the Starfisher, a popular ballad amongst Belosian Oidsmen. A planet of tempests and storms, the world of Belos is a vast ocean world home to multiple continent-sized island chains. The largest of these islands play host to powerful kingdoms, republics, and tribes, all vying for control of their neighbors and for recognition of the Emperor's Angels of Death. Grand armadas of ships of the line ply the waves, patrolling the coast or else venturing out into the high seas for piratical raids. Watching over it all, the Radiant Suns control a carefully engineered scarcity of resources, forcing each major polity on the planet to compete with each other for God, glory, and gold. The greatest warriors and sailors from these conflicts are brought before the angels for rewards and honors. These chosen few are awarded the title of hero and are seen as great protectors of their homelands. The sons of these heroes are then brought to the Radiant Suns aspirant trials to compete for the honor of joining the chapter. Here is our lovely map. So we have Isles of Belos, so Aviento, Oceano, the Archipelago de Laurentus, Os, Cormundado. This is going to be interesting, guys. Baltatierra, Guion. Oh no, guys, why'd you do this to me? I have to read these out loud. Guion. You guys should give me a pronunciation guide. Yeah. No pronunciation guide for poor Aurelia here. Guionia. Bergiado. Cantao. Matalando. This is the pronunciation guide. I make the rules. And then we have the cities. Lots of butchered Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. The Spanglish. I gotta say all these again. Not gonna read the city names. Oh, I'll try. San Radiantes. Number 2. It's really tiny on the map. Oh, this one here. I want to say Thuderico, but that's so wrong. I'm gonna say it anyway. You just wanted me to say this third one, didn't you? Castajardo. That's so bad. I sound so white. Okay. No. Kaidanciel? No, that's wrong. It's just wrong. Barithelos. Sincardes. Look. Castihardo. Okay. Okay, how am I? Yeah, it's Spanish inspired, but how am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to know? I'm not Spanish. I'm not Spanish. How am I supposed to know? So then this is... I gotta brush up on Duolingo. No. Okay. You're Filipino and you know. Do you know why you know that? Because the Spanish. Because of the Spanish. How did you become Filipino? The Spanish. See, I know I'm right. This is a you just enjoy my suffering. You enjoy my suffering. I'm not saying any other names again. I'm not. I'm gonna Mods, can you find out where they live so I can hunt them down and pound their faces into the keyboards? Golly. Mods, find me, send me their addresses. I'm gonna go find them. And we're gonna have a talk. Alright. Good night, Carol. Good time. Anyways. The Isles of Belos. I do know where... Do you still have your P.O. box? You might get something in the mail, Shadow. Shadow, you might get something in the mail. You better cancel that P.O. box, buddy. Can we make it Radiant Sun's fan canon that the brothers intentionally choose complicated words in their names? Oh my gosh, that's funny, and I hate it. It's funny and I hate it. Because they choose complicated names and I just give them a nickname instead. Alright. We gotta lock in. Though there are many thousands of islands scattered across the planet, only the main continent-sized islands and archipelagos are granted the honor of being considered one of the true Isles of Belos. Thus, the main islands known to the Belosians are as follows. Javiento, the Shining Isle. Wrapping around a large sea-sided bay, the Isle of Javiento is home to the oldest and most prestigious kingdoms of Belos. Named the Shining Island due to its mineral wealth, its cities are adorned with gleaming gems and shimmering glasses. Additionally, with the planetary capital of San Radiantes set at the center of the crater lake, the whole world pays homage to the might of this great island. Oceano, the Western Warden, the most westernly of the islands. Westernly of the islands, Oceano possesses a bevy of deep water explorers and shipwrights. The forests of this land grow exceptionally quickly, even compared to the other islands' fast-maturing woodlands. This abundance of timber allows the people of Oceano to own a larger fleet than would be expected of an island of its small size. The people of Oceano are thus known to be some of the best seafarers on the planet as a result, and tales of their explorations to the other side of the world are sung in taverns throughout Belos. Archipelago de Laurentos, the world's market. The three islands that form the Laurentine archipelago sit at the crossroads of commerce between the largest islands of the planet. As a result, their merchant princes have grown fat off the flow of trade through the islands. With fortress ports located at the best natural harbors, the Laurentine people have secured the flow of wealth from the northern hemisphere down to the southern Great Isles. Coromandel, crown of the world. The northernmost island, it stretches up from the warm waters of the inner sea all the way up to the frigid ice plains of the far north. The land is home to the hardiest and most warlike of the people of Belos. The vicious beasts often make their way down from the grinding ice flats to attack the villages that hug the coasts of this continent, while strange carnivorous flora on the interior of the island make inland habitation all but impossible. It is often that the Coromandadans. I hate that word. I hate that word. That's a terrible word. Why did you do this to me? This is a kbuga. It is often said that the Coromandadans' lack of a sense of humor is due to their dangerous homeland. Coromandadans often find it funny that this is said in tavern brawl range. Okay. I had it and then I didn't like it. Balta-Tierra, Isle of the Bold. With the Gran Oceano to their east constantly throwing storms at this island, it remains a wonder amongst Belosians why the eastern shores of Balta-Tierra remain its most populous region. Why do you guys do this to me? This is terrible. This is terrible. The Balta-Tierrese, however, know better. The storms that ravage their coastlines form an integral part of their culture and identity. They serve as a test of daring for the youths of the island, as portents of fortune for its elders. The storms often beach large sea creatures due to their strength, providing the islanders access to food and the rare resources found in the organs and skeletal structures of these beasts. Throughout the islands, Balta-Tierrese captains are renowned for their courage in the face of the many storms that rage through Belos. Guionia, the breadbasket of the world, just south of I'm gonna find you guys. I'm gonna find out where you live, and I am gonna make you read this all out loud. Because when I read this in my head, it was fine. But saying it out loud is so much harder. Just south of Balta-Tierra, Guionia receives little in way of the megastorms that their northern neighbors pride themselves in surviving. In fact, of all the islands of Belos, Guionia is the most stable, temperate, and fertile. Few of the dangerous megafauna beasts haunt its interior, opening it up for settlement and agriculture. As such, Guionia hosts the largest population outside of San Radiantes. Burgiado, the land of the giants. South of the verdant paradise of Guionia lies the monster-riddled hellscape that is Burgiado. Massive beasts travel in large herds across the island while volcanic eruptions poison the air. Despite this hardship, the Burgiatoi people stand resilient against the dangers of beast and fire. Large fortresses dot the island, while the armies of the various polities on the island remain locked in constant battle with the wildlife of the island. Oh, there's more islands. Kanto, Isle of Songs. While Kanto stands as the largest island of the Kantawian archipelago, the soul of its people is found in the numerous tribes that inhabit thousands of islands to its south. These people were forced to come together due to the dangers inherent in Belosian life, creating a myriad of different cultures in the process. One constant unites all these disparate groups, however: music. The best musicians and bards on Belos come from these islands, as the only universal language amongst them is I'm gonna say Cantonese. That's not it though. Cantos, I don't know. Cantonese, a song language based on trills and hymns mimicking the many songbirds of the islands. Mantolondo, the island of bulls. Large flat plains make up the majority of this island, which, when coupled with a large population of docile woolly bovines, led to the you guys are just jacking with me at this point. Matalondings to form a society centered around ranches and cattle drives. These people make the best horsemen on Belos due to having to ride with woolly cow herds during their long cattle drives from the grazing lands of the island's interior to the butchery ports on the coast. From there, the meat is shipped throughout Belos to feed its myriad people. Matalonding horsemen are famed for doing battle with the Salusian bulls, using their superior horsemanship to outmaneuver the charging beasts. And Matalonding cities, juvenile Salusian bulls are fought in grand bull fights for the enjoyment of the city's people. You guys have lost your privileges. You guys have lost your privileges. I get to pronounce things however I feel like. That's why I don't like reading sometimes. Look, here's the thing. It's because it's in Spanish. I can pronounce most words. There's only been like 2 or 3 words that I got wrong, and it was because I didn't even know it was a word. So, like, you can't fault me. I didn't know it was a word. The Celestial Twins. Oh, I love this part. I love this part. I thought this was cool. Central to the culture and climate of Belos are the 2 moons that orbit the planet. Named Clara and Ibarra, local legends say that the 2 moons were once twin mortal daughters of the Sun King, the supposed first ruler of Belos. In every song and story, the 2 princesses are noted for starting out as especially haughty and bickering, with bards throughout Belos often using tales of their mythological pettiness to highlight their own stories' moral lessons. However, when the shadow of old night first fell upon Belos, the light of the Sun King was suddenly snuffed out by the Iron Serpent, a malevolent, devil-like entity in Belosian folklore. The lack of the Sun King's light froze the great oceans and left the world in wintry darkness. The twin princesses, seeing the devastation wrought by the loss of their father's light, put aside their differences and voyaged into the outer darkness and stole back the light from the serpent. Legends vary on how the sisters managed to reclaim the light, with some saying that they slew the serpent in battle, while others hold that they tricked the beast into slumber. Every clan and kingdom on Belos has their own version, emphasizing their own local values. Regardless of method, however, every retelling of the myths agree that the sisters eventually prevailed over the Iron Serpent, but in so doing were forced to remain in the heavens. There, they became the celestial twins Clara, the Lady of Silver, and Ibarra, the Lady of Gold. Together, they shine moonlight upon Belos every night, while their famous argumentativeness brings turbulent storms and tides every season. Outside the realm of myth and legend, the truth of the matter is recorded in the ancient logs of the Radiant Sun's archives. One of the moons, Clara, is an artificial planetoid dating back into the dark age of technology, while the other, Ibarra, appears to be Belos' natural moon. Ancient human ruins exist across the entire surface of Ibarra, with the dead broken skeletons of golden cities dotting the lunar landscape. In fact, it is the sheer monumental scope of these once magnificent cities that gives the light reflected by the Ibarra its signature golden hue. On the other hand, the exact nature of Clara is not known outside of Chapter High Command, but the station has been kept under guard ever since the system's rediscovery by the Chapter in the years following the Great Scouring. The artificial moon is made of a nearly indestructible silvery metal, taking the might of the strongest weaponry in the... Oh! Welcome, Raiders! Hello! Hi! Cha-Cha, thank you for the raid! Welcome in, Raiders! What were you guys up to? Can we give the shout out to Cha-Cha, please? Hello, hello! It's the ultimate Cha-Cha raid! Wait a second. Who has the biggest Pinor? Excuse me? What? What? She does? I mean, I guess I'm not surprised. Man, dang it, I want to say something to her. I have something funny I want to say. Let's find another time. That was the entire stream? Whoa. That's Wow. Hi, Foreskin Chan. Cutie pie, stop embarrassing me. Well, it's just, that's how it is sometimes. That's how it is sometimes. It was community game night. Good. I hope you had fun, and I hope you had a good time at Offkai. Hope you had a good time at Offkai. Raiders, if you don't know me already, my name is Aurelia Tempris. I am a Warhammer VTuber. Tonight, we are going over, if you're familiar with Warhammer at all, we have a custom chapter, and I'm reading the lore that my community came up with. So we're having a grand old time. Yeah, you had a good time. I'm glad you had a great time at Offkai. Yes, we're doing lots of lore. My community wrote this, so we're reading it out loud. We're doing a miniature painting competition. So, you know, if you want to join, go check out the Discord if you want to. If you want to join, there are cash prizes. Should be fun. And I guess, yes, you know what? I should have asked Chacha how to pronounce some words. They're Spanish in origin, and I am not Spanish. I do not speak the Spanish, and I'm struggling. I'm on the struggle bus. And Andrew, thank you for the super chat. At least you're actually able to read it. When I tried to describe my custom chapter to my game store, I got embarrassed, and I bought Dreadnoughts instead. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Chacha in Spanish. I assume she at least knows a little bit. More than me, I'm assuming, but you know, I could be wrong, but I'd rather assume that she just does know. What did you guys play for community game night? Did you guys have fun? What did you guys play? Oh, ow. Just popped my back. Lethal Company? Oh man, I haven't played Lethal Company in a while. I don't think I ever played it on stream. I think I just played it with... No, I played Lethal Company like once or twice. I think it was actually with Chacha. It was a while ago. Back in 2024, I think. I died for bees and a cat. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is sometimes. But it's very fun. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you, Chacha, for the raid. Chatters, those of you who just joined, please make sure you take care of yourself, get some sleep, eat, go to the bathroom, drink water. Drink water, that's very important. I'm gonna continue, we're gonna keep reading lore. Probably, maybe not your cup of tea, but it's relaxing and soothing, I'd like to think. So I hope you all enjoy this. I certainly am enjoying myself. We might split this up. We'll see if we split it up into multiple streams reading this lore, but we will see. I really like your avatar. Thank you. I appreciate it. I quite like it myself. I'm a huge fan. Cha-Cha's got other things to do. I can't ask her how to pronounce every single word in his whole primer. Okay, where were we? Let's see. Up here. Okay. There. On the other hand, the exact nature of Clara is not known outside of Chapter High Command, but the station has been kept under guard ever since the system's rediscovery of the chapter in the years following the Great Scouring. The artificial moon is made of a nearly indestructible silvery metal, taking the might of the strongest weaponry in the chapter's arsenal to even scratch it. Additionally, the station appears capable of regenerating itself, reknitting damaged sections to full repair. That sounds very Necron. I won't lie, that sounds kind of Necron, and that scares me a little bit. That scares me. I don't like... Overall, Both moons circle around Belos in stable, if uneven, orbits, occasionally crossing paths in the night sky. However, when both moons orbit near each other, the resulting gravitic forces cause megastorms to rage across Belos. These storms have done more to shape the culture of Belos than any social engineering enacted by the Radiant Suns. The flora and fauna have all evolved to survive the seemingly random super tempests that arise from the oceans, while the landscape bears the scars of constant erosion. Every year, hundreds of Belosian vessels are lost, taking thousands down to the depths. To the locals, this is called the Blue Tide, which is contrasted with the Red Tide taken by the Radiant Suns. The moons of Belos are known, even through myth, to be the cause of these calamities, and yet they still inspire wonder and pride in the Belosian people. For all the damage these lunar bodies enact upon the world of Belos, they remain a constant symbol for the Belosians to rally behind. I'd like to make a note. I really liked this section. For those of you that are aware, if you have read Dante, they talk about the lore and the folklore behind the twin moons of Baal. And I really liked how this was mirrored, because they also make the moon's sisters, and I think it's really cool. I really like that. I don't know if that was done on purpose. I have no idea. But I thought it was neat that it aligns quite nicely. I could go into it more, but we got more to read. We got a lot more to read. Of Fishers and Kings. The linked ideals of self-sacrifice and heroism are deeply rooted in Belosian culture. The willingness of the individual to sacrifice their own well-being for the benefit of the tribe is a paramount virtue for the planet's myriad peoples. Thus, with Belos being an oceanic world filled with dangerous storms and sea monsters, the most common expression of these ideals is found in the world's fishermen. These individuals put life and limb on the line in great maritime adventures to wrest the sea's bounty for their respective tribes. Contesting against Culebra and megastorms, these fishermen hunt the great beasts of the ocean for food and fortune, with the bravest of their bunch being proclaimed as fishers and heroes of their clans and tribes. Furthermore, in the rare times of war, these fishermen would lead the charge of their tribesmen, having hardened themselves against the horrors of the sea. Their knowledge and expertise in naval navigation and combat would become the decisive factor in many tribal conflicts throughout Belosian history. However, for all the honor associated with these titles, ancient Belosian society was a fluid thing, with power and standing shifting like the tides of the great oceans. Only the kings of the great tribes truly sat comfortable atop the social strata, often playing off the passions and furies of their heroes to prevent anyone from gaining too much sway in their petty kingdoms. Throughout Old Night, this societal configuration kept stability and relative peace between the kingdoms of the Great Isles, with only smaller border skirmishes making up the bulk of Belosian military history. When the Radiant Suns first discovered Belos, though, they overturned the existing order to better suit the chapter's needs, co-opting the existing tradition of heroism to reward those who showed courage and a willingness to serve the Imperium. The bravest of Belos's fisher warriors would be given official titles and offered the privilege of offering up their sons for the Radiant Suns aspirant trials. The old kings who had kept the peace, likewise, were vilified and torn down, making way for each isle's kingdoms to once more vie for power and glory in the eyes of their new overlords. Thus, the Radiant Suns codified and institutionalized the once dynamic culture of adventurous and selfless fisher warriors into the burgeoning martial nobility of their recruitment world, ensuring heightened competition to meet their recruitment quotas. Seas and oceans. Belos is dominated by an all-encompassing outer ocean and one massive inner sea that connect all of the major archipelagos of the planet. Though there are many names for the smaller individual bodies of water that cover the planet's surface, the two primary water bodies share names and legends that resonate with every native Belosian. Interconnecting the many continent-sized archipelagos of Belos, the great inner sea, known as the Mother Waters, holds as the calmest and shallowest waters of the planet. Compared to the challenging, tumultuous depths of the outer ocean, the tropical, life-giving waters of the inner sea provide easy, predictable currents and weather patterns for the native Belosians. Likewise, the mother waters possess a staggering richness in sea life throughout its entire body of water, hence leading to its naming from the locals. All sorts of underwater ecosystems live in symbiotic harmony with the nurturing waters of the mother. From schools of fish in the tens of millions living throughout the many continental shelf-sized coral reefs, to the large predatory sea serpents that come to lay their egg clutches in much more forgiving environments, all life on Belos is sustained by the calmness and nutrient-rich currents of the mother waters. The Belosians heavily depend on this area for food and trade, as the sea lanes through this body of water provide safe passage for native mariners to travel to and mingle with other tribes. Aaron, thank you for the 19 months. Hi, it is a bedtime story. A very long one. Bordering the warm waters of the mother, blah, blah, blah. Bordering the warm waters of the mother. That was perfect timing since Cha-Cha, just joined us, huh? Lies the cold and unforgiving Dread Deeps. The majority of these waters are too deep, dark, and frigid for undersea plant life to thrive in. Additionally, warm air mixes with the cold waters of the Dread Deeps, forming massive storm walls that ravage the Isles of Belos. Despite the harsh conditions, the Dread Deeps are far from an ecological dead zone, as only the fiercest of sea beasts call these waters home. With towering hive-sized spires of underwater rock providing bastions up for life in an otherwise flat, endless void of water, these deeps provide living space for the largest of maritime predators, the Belosian sea serpents, to thrive and grow to monolithic sizes. Sailors tell tales of the largest of these beasts being able to face off against entire war galleys in open combat before dragging them down into the sun-hidden depths. Considering all this, most sane Imperials avoid the outer waters entirely. However, Belosian sea serpents provide such a rich and abundant source of food that Belosian great fishers routinely weather the myriad of dangers to hunt these beasts down. The bravest of these hunters even earn the right to titles as hero, with their sons becoming eligible to complete in the trials to join the Radiant Sons Brotherhood. Upon shining Javiento, the capital island of Belos, lies the great crater lake, a circular lagoon formed by a meteor impact in the long-distant past. Naturally, the results of this impact formed a safe harbor big enough for ships to anchor. Eventually, the city of San Radiantes began to develop upon the central shining island, the only remnant of this ancient cataclysm. Built in the cover of the island's shield mountains, which face both the Dread Deeps and the Mother Waters, the city and its harbor were protected from the worst of the great storms that ravaged Belos. Furthermore, situated at Crater Lake's largest estuary, flowing out to the Mother Waters, lies a venerable marvel of ancient engineering, a monumental overflow dam that manages the tides and calms the waves going in and out of the lagoon. Large enough to allow the passage of even the largest Belosian galleys on a good day, this dam symbolizes the Belosians' eternal struggle to master the waters of their homeworld. Let me take a second here. Very impressive amount of world building. I don't even think the homeworlds of any of the canon chapters get this much into detail. Look, the homies that wrote this, Kybernicus, Shadow Revan, Kix Rips, and then Chroma, who did a lot of the art, those boys are dedicated. Those boys are dedicated. Let's just say that. Oh yeah, also guys, they had to cut stuff. This is the cut. This is the abridged version. Abridged. Oh, no, I didn't think you meant it as an insult. No, not at all. No, I took that 100% as a compliment because, this is insane how much they wrote. I did not think it was an insult. I don't think they took it as an insult either. I will speak on their behalf. This is abridged, yes. The file size got too big. How many pages was it? How many pages was it, guys? You can even estimate. Because this is about 40 pages. You didn't even get to add him. It was just too fat. A chunker. A chunker. Out of curiosity, gentlemen, will there be a time period in which we can access the redacted notes? Yeah, do we have a second release? More. I crave more. More. We gotta keep going. We gotta keep going. I'll wait. We did talk about a supplement. All right, well, think harder about it, maybe. More lore. Local wildlife. The wildlife of Belos is as varied and dangerous as its oceans and currents. Great sea serpents known as the Culebre prowl the waves, dragging unsuspecting sailors to their deaths. In rare cases, these creatures grow to truly massive sizes, being able to drag whole galleons below the waves, feasting on the flesh of hundreds of doomed crewmen. Unnervingly, it has been repeatedly noted throughout the millennia that these great sea beasts take sadistic pleasure in hunting humans. They will oftentimes go out of their way, forsaking already killed prey to attack and kill human beings. Survivors of these attacks often make note of a cruel laughter hidden amongst the serpentine hisses that characterize the attacks. Safety is not to be found on land either, as terrors still lurk in the wild places of the planet. In the southern continents, large mutated bulls the size of battle tanks roam alongside large wild herds of similar cattle species. These Salusian bulls, crowned with multiple sets of armor-piercing horns, are hyper-aggressive and very territorial. They will often challenge other bulls for leadership of the herd, killing and devouring the losers of their bouts. These bulls are often hunted by the free tribes on their respective lands as a rite of passage. In the northern continents, red-haired boar cyclops giants make their homes in the hills and deep forests at the foothills of the great mountain ranges. With 10 fingers per hand and 10 hooves per foot, these carnivorous giants hunt the local megafauna for sustenance. In times of hunting scarcity, these creatures will come out of the wilds and raid human settlements for food. These creatures are usually solitary, but have been known to move in family units. They are incredibly deadly, utilizing primitive tools and tactics to lethal effect. They feature prominently in local folklore throughout the southern islands. However, not all life is so inherently hostile. Large woolly bovine creatures gently graze on most of the islands, while large shaggy-haired boars roam the fast-growing forests of the inner islands. Birds of shifting rainbow hues fly throughout the world, while large, untamed herds of horses seemingly spring out of nowhere, traveling from island to island without any known source of transportation. As far as plant life is concerned, the inland forests regenerate quickly enough that clear-cutting operations are a central aspect of civilian life on Belos. These forests grow trees enough to supply the constantly working arsenals of the Isle kingdoms. The oldest trees, of a few years in age, grow tall and straight enough to serve as masts on the many-sailed flagships of the seas. Smaller plants are used for a variety of applications ranging from rope making, livestock feed, to even clothing. Additionally, each major island hosts unique life forms distinct to only them. More often than not, however, these species turn out to be just as deadly as they are useful. For example, carnivorous plants in Coromandado attack any human that enters their vicinity, but provide unique biochemical enzymes for medicines. Meanwhile, the songbirds of Cantao make pleasing trilling songs that can lure the unwary to dangerous ends. However, for all the diversity of life, several dead zones in the ecology exist for no known reason. Attempts to study these areas have all ended in disaster, with those few survivors recounting tales of horror. Most of these areas are now patrolled by the angels. However, in the rare instances that life comes forth from these places, only death and terror follows in their wake. Snake. Belosians are often said to have seawater instead of blood. And while this statement has been confirmed false by numerous studies by the Magos biologists, the sentiment behind the saying still rings true. Belosian culture is inextricably linked to the seas that cover the majority of their world. All of their civilizations, from their mightiest kingdom to the lowliest tribe, share in the bounty of the sea. Even the rare Belosian who lives their whole life on land will find themselves connected in some way to the gifts of the ocean. However, this common link between all Belosians is often just as much of a uniting force as it is a divisive factor in their cultures. Similarities heighten differences, and the Belosians can just as easily differentiate one another by the twang and pitch of their dialect than by the way one ties one's knots. Belos's insular landmasses have, by extension, molded a paradoxically insular but open culture. Sailors and merchants ply the ever-winding sea lanes, trading goods exclusive to their homelands, near and afar. No one island has everything it needs for civilization to thrive. This selective scarcity, a byproduct of the radiant sun's societal engineering, urges young men from across the world to trade and travel as an almost universal rite of passage. With these adventurers come stories and songs from 1,000 different islands, connecting the people of Belos to the traditions from distant shores. From their sea-centered lives, several common cultural icons emerge. Fishers and sailors are revered in every Belosian culture. The greatest of Belos's sailor and warriors are elevated in myth and society to the title of hero. Heroes carry great prestige in their societies, and the title marks their bloodline as honorable in the eyes of the angels. Songs of intrepid mariners braving the storm and hail to haunt the great sea beasts are sung in every tavern. Indeed, it is said that the easiest way to ingratiate yourself into any given local Belosian populace is to simply go to the local tavern and strike up a conversation about which fish they like to eat, or which knot they prefer, or some other of 100 different inane nautical subjects. Every Belosian will have a different opinion and will happily buy you an ale or two to keep you a captive audience to their upcoming rant. And yet, just as easily as they accept new arrivals, each separate Belosian people cling to their personal identity like a lifeline in a storm. Belosians are passionate people by nature, and the love of one's home culture often leads to a competitive social landscape. Land scarcity leads to border conflicts leads to raids lead to war. Belosian people love a good fight, whether it be against a storm, a sea serpent, or their fellow man. Young Belosians cut their teeth in sea haunts, while the warriors of their clans engage in a rich culture of dueling. The cobbled city streets of the more developed kingdoms often ring with a clash of steel from dueling sword masters. Additionally, long times at sea lead to a cultural through line of crew camaraderie. Small-scale social groups hold special prominence in daily Belosian life. This factor furthers the tribalization of the overarching Belosian people. Presiding all over this complex social web is the Radiant Suns chapter. They carefully manage the people of Belos like gardeners to their plants. For all the conflict and commerce that flows around the planet, no one kingdom, federation, republic, or tribe has ever gained hegemony over the world. The Space Marines of the Suns ensure that the world is ever teetering on the edge of famine and plenty, eternally spinning the wheels of war to keep the Belosian sharp for chapter or planetary defense force recruitment. Additionally, the constant presence of the chapter has led to the adoption of the widespread veneration of the Burning Saint, with local variants of the Imperial faith emphasizing her in their iconography. The origins of this saint veneration are, in local histories, tied to her initial visit to the planet during its rediscovery by the chapter following the War of the Beast. Throughout the planet, temples to the Emperor are always decorated with stained glass and carved frescoes in her honor. Cultural memories of her personal heraldry persist in the folklore of the people, leading to them becoming universally understood symbols in daily Belosian life. And yet, for all this societal shaping the chapter performs, they, themselves, are not immune to its effects either. The Belosian-born Space Marines bring with them the cultures of their youths. Belosian Space Marines of differing clans will often compete against each other in the training halls and carry centuries-old tribal grudges against their fellow brothers. Kingdom politics often bleed into inter-chapter politics, making it imperative for the Belosian chapter command to carefully organize the makeup of their companies. Aurelia's eyes narrow when there's a confusing word and it's hilarious. Yeah, my tracking is good. I can't really hide. I can't really hide when I'm doing the big think. The big think. The Crimson Spire. Upon the Isle of the Sun, located within the hive city of San Radiantes, stands the massive Crimson Spire. A monumental hive city of intricate Baroque architecture masks the base of a space elevator of ancient origins. Connected to their orbital fortress, the Villagencia. The Crimson Spire serves as the terrestrial gateway to the heavens for the Belosians. Mythologized for thousands of years, the Spire is the primary mode of transit both on and off-world. The presence of Belos' two moons make conventional takeoffs with spacecraft far more dangerous, as the competing gravitational pulls play havoc with onboard sensors. However, the Radiant Spire possesses rare archaeotech that compensates for the erratic gravitic fluctuations. At the base of the spire sits a massive hive city of richly carved stonework. Beautiful towers and gleaming archways form the bulk of the city's construction. At the city's borders, a massive series of fortified walls arrayed in the likeness of ancient star fortresses protect the inhabitants from the dangers of the outside world. However, the city is not without its own dangers. Within the walls of the fortress lives the planetary elite. Politicking and backroom dealings can spell the end of whole bloodlines in their never-ending quest for power. Nobles and heroes, who most often come from common upbringings, vie for power and influence in the courts of the vigilant bureaucracy headed by the Radiant Sons. Success for the few cunning and ruthless enough to earn the chapter's favor grants them access to previous off-world resources and technologies, or otherwise the honor and privilege of sending their house's scions to compete in the Radiant Sons' aspirant trials. Crusade Fleet Knight. Likened to the sparks of starlight light it creates passing over the night skies of Belos when it moors for resupply, the Crusade Fleet Knight. Yes, the Crusade Fleet Knight serves as the planetary. Serves as the primary guardian of Belosian space. The arm of the Radiant Suns chapter acts as the sword and shield of the sector as the day and twilight fleets are occupied elsewhere. Primarily assigned to anti-piracy duties in and around the Belosian space, Night Fleet provides aid to the Imperial flotillas by escorting the chapter's treasure fleets that arrive at Belos with the spoils of 100 worlds. As the Belosian Crusade grinds ever onwards, new worlds with new resources are brought into the chapter's fold. They operate a large-scale trade network between all their conquered worlds, providing each the means to rebuild themselves while providing their unique resources and technologies to Belos, and eventually the mysterious Solar Bastion. Additionally, new recruits pour into Belos from liberated worlds, providing the chapter a chance to grow and adapt its combat forces. Additionally, high-quality materials and extremely promising recruits are often spirited away to the secretive Solar Bastion via the Twilight Fleet. Meanwhile, newer members of the Belosian arm of the chapter are often sent on escort ships throughout Radiant Sun's controlled space, allowed to improve their voidfaring skills before being sent to their individual crusading fleets. In order to cover as much space as possible, the Night Fleet employs fast attack craft squadrons made up of smaller void vessels for patrol, and interdiction of smugglers and pirates. Thus, much of the Belosian-based chapter is dispersed along smaller crusade fleets and anti-piracy missions. However, despite the relatively weak composition of their ships as opposed to other, more well-known crusading chapters, they are not entirely without teeth. Crusade Fleet Knight can call upon stronger ships such as its flagship, the Surprise, an ancient and powerful battle barge from the Great Crusade. With its onboard archaeotech suite being able to mask its signature to all foreign vessels, oftentimes appearing to be a smaller ship than it actually is, the Surprise lures in would-be void pirates into a fight they did not expect. This is actually a fairly common doctrine for the Night Fleet, using its seemingly more limited naval capacity to its advantage. Night Fleet thus has the highest rates of capturing ships of all the chapters in its sector. Cunning and trickery are highly sought-after skills among its mortal captains, traits that were already nurtured in Balos's treacherous oceans. I will say, it does get to a point where I stop. I've read a majority of this, but there's sections I haven't read. I don't remember reading these last paragraphs, but like, I don't know what I said. I'm just like, bleh. Bleh. I'm just saying words. I don't comprehend what I'm actually saying. I'm gonna like skim it really fast. I'm like, wait a second. Ugh. Warhammer nonsense while I paint. Yes, this is a great time. This is a great time. We're halfway there, brothers. Brothers, I am pinned here. Predicating this act of naval trickery is a large complement of boarding craft. The Balosian arm of the chapter excels in boarding actions of all kinds, harkening back to the foundation of the chapter itself during the Great Scouring. Balosian Radiant Sons often make it a point to meet their enemies face-to-face in single combatant melee duels. Thus, their predilection towards dueling culture informs their preference to melee combat in the narrow confines of void ships. Balosians, by nature, are a braggadocious bunch. I just learned that word. And while the recruits brought in from off-world bring with them their own ways and cultures, the Balosian-born Marines dominate the chapter's ranks. They carry with them ancient clan grudges and noble house traditions. Different Balosian cultures from distant corners of the same world collide together in the cramped hallways of the void ships, forced together by shared experience and conflict. Thus, the overarching Balosian culture of martial glory, dueling, boasting, and feuding are kept alive and well, taking in the people and cultures and dreams of the hundreds of worlds they pass on their eternal crusade for the Imperium and the Burning Saint. We march as one. Picked record of a Balosian Planetary Defense Force recruitment poster, circa M38. Very nice. Look at that hat. It's a very nice hat. And a very nice banner. And a very nice Marine. It's very nice. Crusade Fleet Twilight. There is a darkness in this universe. A true darkness. One that lurks between the stars, in the inky blackness of the void, within the hearts of every man, woman, and child. Yes, there is a darkness. I have seen it, and I have fought it. So now I say to you, Orc, that you are but the smallest speck of bleakness to stain our galaxy. I have watched worlds burn and stars die. I have stood beside demigods and commanded fleets of apocalyptic might. I have witnessed the dying of the night and the raising of the day. For I am an admiral of Twilight Fleet, and I order you to die. Why do you want me to why do you make me want to replay the Dawn of War series? When the lore is this fire, man. Look, when the lore is this fire, get some good rest, Huntsman. Gets a good reference. Admiral Salivar Trafalgo to Warboss Mogrock Madfang. Liberation of the Golgothan Sector 629 M37. This is the boy. The boy he stand. Bridging the Void. The Crusade fleets of Twilight serve as the vital bridge between the secretive Solar Bastion and Belos, a role made all the more critical following the opening of the Cicatrix Maledictum. Its many subfleets lie scattered across the Imperium and beyond, fighting an endless war against the darkness between the stars. The true number of these subfleets remains obscured from imperial records, known only to Maximian Francisco Felix del San Radientes, captain of the 5th Company and Magister de Barcos, a Belosian-derived title meaning Master of Ships, who acts as a pseudo-chapter master specifically for the Crusade fleets of Twilight. Twilight Fleet serves as a melting pot for the chapter, with the fighting strength of its innumerable subfleets composed of elements from the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th companies. Twilight Fleet operates across all segmentums, with their subfleets' sinuous courses invariably beginning or ending at either Belos or the chapter's secretive headquarters in the Sirius system. Each subfleet varies in size and endeavors to acquire additional ships and supplies with every passage. As a whole, the Crusade fleets of Twilight support both the chapter and the procurement and transportation of vital resources. The bulk of the Space Marines serving within the Twilight Crusade are drawn from aspirants recruited on worlds brought into compliance by the various subfleets themselves. While they primarily train their own neophytes, Twilight Fleet occasionally receives initiates from Belos when able, and though rare, fully trained battle brothers from the other 2 Crusade fleets may also join or depart the Twilight fleets at any time, further strengthening the bond between all 3 parts of the Radiant Sons. Fleet composition. The Crusade fleets of Twilight are comprised of many of the standard vessels found throughout other similar Space Marine fleets. Battle barges, strike cruisers, Vanguard-class light cruisers, Gladius frigates, Hunter destroyers, and Nova frigates make up the core of their naval strength. In addition, the fleets make extensive use of the heavy transports to carry the vast quantities of resources acquired over the course of their ongoing crusades. On rare occasions, ancient or less common ship classes may be included in the fleet's composition, relics of forgotten wars and past glories brought back to life in the void between stars. Have a good night, Kyber. You'll get to hear the rest of my thoughts later, if my voice doesn't die. Each subfleet of the Crusade operates with a high degree of autonomy, their only mission being to bring new worlds into compliance in the name of the Burning Saint. In names of the Burning Saint, the Angel, and the Emperor. Thus, it is not unusual for detachments to break away from a main force to undertake specific, and often clandestine, missions before rejoining a subfleet. Notably, Vanguard-class light cruisers are commonly dispatched on training exercises, reconnaissance missions, or fast assaults with appropriate escort complements. Similarly, strike cruisers with heavy escort detachments are frequently assigned to independent missions to support broader Imperium efforts. Twilight's First Fleet. The largest and most central formation of the Crusade fleet of Twilight is the First Fleet, boasting hundreds of ships of varying tonnage. Unlike the other elements of the Twilight fleets, the First Fleet operates as a hunter-killer armada, its primary mission being the unyielding pursuit and total destruction of any and all enemy fleets, be they traitor, Xenos, or heretic. First Fleet's secondary objective is a suppression of rebellious systems and the enforcement of Imperial compliance. Given its combat-oriented nature, First Fleet maintains a substantial number of support vessels to rearm, refuel, and repair its warships mid-campaign. At its core, First Fleet is built around 3 ancient battle barges, its flagship, the Vinculum de Sangre, the Concordia, and the Cazador del Vacío. The Vinculum de Sangre serves as the personal flagship of the 5th Company's captain, Maximilian Francisco Felix del San Radientes. These formidable vessels are supported by a complement of 4 strike cruisers and 10 Vanguard-class light cruisers. An ever-fluctuating number of Gladys frigates, Nova frigates, and Hunter-class destroyers provide additional firepower and screening capabilities. Supplementing these combat vessels are 4 heavy transports, 1 factory ship, and a single forward ship to sustain the fleet's logistical and manufacturing needs. The First Fleet's combat doctrine revolves around coordinated multi-vector assaults. In battle, the fleet divides into smaller formations centered around its battle barges, executing synchronized maneuvers to strike from multiple angles. When possible, the objective is not the total destruction of enemy ships, but their disablement. Once crippled, the Radiant Sun's Marines initiate boarding actions using boarding torpedoes, Castus assault rams, and Thunderhawk gunships. If a captured ship is deemed salvageable and uncorrupted, Voidsmen and Serfs are deployed to carry out field repairs, allowing the vessel to accompany the fleet. Holy. Gentlemen, I don't know if we can do it all tonight. Subfleets. While the First Fleet is by far the largest concentration of ships within the Crusade fleets of Twilight, numerous subfleets are dispersed throughout all of Imperial space. Despite their independence, all subfleets share a common structure, with each being anchored to a single battle barge and at least one heavy transport at its core. The supporting elements of strike cruisers, Vanguard-class light cruisers, Gladys frigates, Hunter destroyers, Nova frigates, and various other vessels vary between subfleets. Each Crusade subfleet operates autonomously, tasked with bringing new worlds into compliance and following up on previous compliance work. Subfleets also regularly return to previously integrated worlds to recruit new aspirants, gather raw materials, resupply war gear, and rotate battle brothers stationed at Radiant Sun's outposts on those planets. Crusade Fleet Objectives. The Crusade Fleet of Twilight operates under several key objectives as part of its sacred mandate for the Radiant Suns chapter. The first objective is to preserve and strengthen the bonds within the chapter itself. Prior to the opening of the Cicatrix Maledictum, the mission was largely symbolic, as stable Vox communication between Crusade fleets night and day allowed for consistent contact. The Crusade Fleet of Twilight therefore served as a reminder that no matter the distance, all Radiant Suns remain united as battle brothers. Additionally, the fleet facilitated the exchange of rare resources between the other two fleets, carrying esoteric materials or relics that could not be easily procured within their respective regions. However, after the formation of the Cicatrix Maledictum, this symbolic function became more a thing of vital necessity. Communication between Belos and the Solar Bastion was severed, splitting the Radiant Suns, as it did the Imperium, into two isolated halves. In the current day, the Crusade Fleet of Twilight acts as the primary lifeline between these sundered domains, making its role in communication and coordination more crucial than ever before. The second objective is to bring new and rebellious worlds into compliance. With the Imperium under constant assault from all fronts, every lost world weakens its already strained defenses and supply lines. The Radiant Suns extend their wrath and their faith across the stars, seeking to restore order and spread the message of the Burning Saint, the Angel, and the Emperor. These newly compliant worlds provide strategic value and vital resources for the Radiant Suns' unending war effort. Sword-class frigate, Vengeance of the Widow. It's pretty cool. I like that name. The third objective is the establishment of outposts and supply bases across the galaxy. These facilities support the operations of the many subfleets of the Twilight Fleet, ensuring their ability to continue the war effort and maintain long-range operations. These locations also serve as resupply points for night and day fleets should they have need of them. Furthermore, they are used as staging grounds for missionary work and dissemination of teachings and revelations of the yapping of the Burning Saint. Yeah, I don't remember reading that paragraph. You read the rest of it on another stream and have extra time, you can just read the primer. Oh. How many full pages do I have? 1, 2, 3 and a half, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half, 8. Bro, my voice is getting worn. I'm gonna need to drink some tea after this. Writers of this primer, you gotta tell me how many words I've read. I need a word count. A loyalist word bearers legion? Mods, ban that guy. Ban him. Ban him. No. It's Radiant Suns. They're Blood Angel's successors. Yeah, I'm gonna make some tea. I was thinking about this while I was reading. I was like, I should have made tea. Do we count the words you reread? No, gosh, that'd be dumb. No, don't do that. No. I just want to know what the word count is. is a lot of words, brother. All right. Imperial compliance. Bringing new worlds into Imperial compliance is one of the primary objectives of the Twilight Crusade fleets. There are 4 main types of encounters when it comes to compliance: those of the Xenos, the Heretic, the Lost, and the Forged. It is not uncommon for the Crusade fleet of Twilight to discover a world inhabited by various Xenos strains. Standard eradication protocols are carried out to eliminate alien populations and to prepare the planet for future Imperial colonization. The first step of routine Xenos cleansing is to achieve void superiority. This is primarily done through the deployment of battle barges and strike cruisers, along with all due supporting vessels. In many cases, this is a straightforward task, as the firepower of Radiant Sun's battle barges exceeds that of the standard ship pattern. If the Radiant Suns find themselves outnumbered or outgunned, their strategy becomes one of dismantling the enemy fleet in successive smaller engagements. Once superiority in orbit is secured, hunter-destroyers and Nova frigates are deployed across the system to serve as picket ships, while the bulk of the fleet advances to the celestial bodies in need of compliance. On Xenos held worlds, orbital bombardments begin with the targeting of fortifications and population centers. These strikes reduce the need for heavy ground casualties during invasion. Ground operations are then tailored to the specific situation. If Xenos resistance is aggressive and highly mobile, a rapid assault is initiated using drop pods and Thunderhawk gunships. These initial attacks are followed by the main force of Radiant Suns. Once all the major Xenos forces and infrastructure are neutralized, cleanup operations commence. It is common for Voidcraft to support these efforts with Auspex sweeps. In rare cases, the planet may be deemed wholly unsuitable for human habitation. In such cases, the planet is rendered fully incapable of sustaining any life to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. In other situations, the Radiant Suns are called to bring rebellious planets back into compliance. These are worlds that have turned away from the light of the Emperor and must be corrected. As with Xeno engagements, void superiority must be gained. However, there is one critical difference. Strategic assets such as orbital stations and resource facilities are carefully neutralized rather than destroyed so they can be reclaimed. Orbital bombardments are therefore usually avoided, and ground operations may begin before full void supremacy is achieved. Loyalist forces on the surface may also require immediate support. In these cases, drop pods and Thunderhawks are dispatched to reinforce them. Occasionally, the fleet will rediscover a human world lost since the Dark Age of technology. Most of these planets are usually either pre-industrial or only lightly industrialized, their void capabilities typically being limited or non-existent. When contact is made, diplomacy is attempted first. If peaceful integration fails, force is applied. When such rediscovered worlds possess void fleets on their own, diplomatic efforts are prioritized. In a few rare cases, Imperial concessions were even authorized to expedite peaceful compliance. However, if all else fails, the planet is considered to be in rebellion and treated as such. By far, the rarest type of discovery is that of a lost Forge world. These worlds are often best left undisturbed, with the information regarding their existence being relayed to the Adeptus Mechanicus. Despite this, trade and diplomacy may occur between the Radiant Suns and the newly discovered Forge world. Once a world is brought into compliance, the final phase begins. Drawing from the strategies of the Crusade Fleet of Night, the Radiant Suns establish Presidios bases on newly compliant word. The term Presidio comes from Belos and refers to a fortified settlement. These structures allow the chapter to maintain a watchful presence while the fleet moves forward. A small number of Radiant Suns and support serfs are stationed there to help newly appointed planetary governors secure power, gather resources, and provide future recruits and supplies for future fleet arrivals. If the world has no to low human population, more serfs may be sent down onto the planet as initial colonizers until proper colonization can begin. These presidios take many forms. They may be a fortress monastery, a single great tower in a hive city, a space station, or in a few cases, an entire hive city repurposed for the chapter's use. Yes, the VOD for this will be available after stream's done. You go to YouTube and there's a section called Live, and you go there. Okay. Okay. Oh. The Bloodless Tourney. Within the Twilight Crusade fleets, there is a ceremonial event held on special occasions known as the Bloodless Tourney. The Radiant Sons take great pride in these tournaments, viewing them as an opportunity to demonstrate martial skill and strengthen the bonds between Astartes and their serfs. During the event, Voidsmen and Astartes duel for honor in the largest training hall aboard the fleet's flagship. The Astartes wear only simple cloth garments and wield training swords, while the Voidsmen are outfitted with their own protective armor and a more robust sword. In the center of the ring, one Astartes faces off against one Voidsman at a time in a duel reminiscent of old Terran fencing tournaments. To progress in the tournament, a Voidsman needs to only score a single hit against a Space Marine, while the Astartes must land 3 clean strikes to advance. For a Voidsman, advancing even one round is considered a mark of high distinction and skill. Should a Space Marine seriously injure or kill a Voidsman during the event, it is considered a grave dishonor, as the Radiant Sons place great emphasis on self-control in the heat of battle. The offending Marine will then undergo a period of ritual repentance and be barred from participating in the Bloodless Tourney for a full century. The tourney is intended as a friendly competition, often accompanied by celebration. Music is performed by serfs or even Astartes, may echo throughout the hall and gathered crew. All aboard the ship, be they Voidsman, serf, or Astartes, join in the festivities as spectators and supporters. Yeah, the Voidsmen, yeah, no, they don't, I don't think they win very often. Yeah. Yeah. We already talked about the Black Rage. That was, the Black Rage is talked about in, like, pages... it's, like, 7? Page 7. We are past that. We are on page 24. Don't worry, I am doing the hydration. The devastation of Baal. One of the darkest moments for the Radiant Sons chapter came during the Battle of Baal. Night Fleet was the first to heed the call to defend Baal. 3/4 of its strength set out immediately, leaving the remainder behind to safeguard their sacred homeworld of Belos. They were joined by 2 minor Crusade fleets of Twilight, combining into a single force under the command of Night Fleet Commander Gregorio Agrippina. The support ships and their escorts of the Crusade fleet of Twilight, bearing the fleet's gene seed vaults and sacred relics, detached from the main formation and made for a nearby supply world to await the word of the battle's outcome. Other distant subfleets of the Crusade fleet of Twilight and the First Fleet confirmed they were en route to the Baal system, though many knew they would not arrive in time. What is this that I am reading? I am reading the custom lore, like homebrew lore of my custom chapter called the Radiant Sons. They are second founding of the Blood Angels. My community wrote this. I came up with the name and then my community is like, that's kind of fire. And then they wrote their own lore and it's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. Still counting words over 12,000 so far. Please tell me you're just like, you're just opened the Google Doc and then you just highlighted it and it told you how many words. You can just turn it into a Word document and it'll tell you automatically. Oh. He's listening and counting on his fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Okay. The unified force arrived in the system at a critical moment. The fleets of the Radiant Sons placed themselves fully under the command of Commander Dante of the Blood Angels, who organized them into Battle Group Radiant. Night Fleet's venerable flagship, the Surprise, stood at the heart of a vast armada composed of hundreds of vessels, including 2 additional battle barges, over a dozen strike cruisers and Vanguard-class light cruisers, and dozens of Gladius frigates, Hunter destroyers, and Nova frigates. Many of the Radiant Sons Astartes were deployed directly onto Baal's surface, while their ships joined the massed fleets of the Blood Angels and their successor chapters, holding position in the void around the planet and its moons. Before long, deep space Auspex readings aboard the Radiant Sons vessels revealed a crimson tide spreading across the void. High Fleet Leviathan had arrived. Commander Dante ordered the fleet to engage the swarm head-on in an effort to slow its advance. The Radiant Sons followed their Blood Angel kin into the oncoming storm without hesitation. R.I.P. They were outnumbered by more than 100 to 1 as Tyranid bioships tore into the formations of the Blood Angels and their allies, pressing relentlessly toward Baal and its moons. Still, the Radiant Sons held firm and performed their duty. Most of the Radiant Sons Astartes contingent was deployed planetside to Baal, attached to rapid response units to counter the enemy once it descended upon the salt-scarred dunes of the Blood Angels' ancient home. Only a small number of Space Marines remained aboard each vessel to serve as counterboarding response squads. As the Sons of the Angel prepared their positions across Baal's surface, the situation grew increasingly dire. A seemingly endless tide of living blades and bioengineered horrors fell upon the planet. It appeared as though for every Space Marine there was a million Tyranids. Yet even amid this apocalyptic onslaught, the Radiant Sons found strength in the clarity of their purpose. Their duty was simple: to destroy the enemies of humanity. As the fleets of the Blood and their successors were overwhelmed one by one, Commander Dante ordered individual commanders to take control of their representative forces. Gregorio Agrippina could not rely on the Radiant Sons' preferred doctrines of boarding warfare against such a foe, given the alien nature of the Tyranid ships and their overwhelming numbers. Instead, he ordered a series of hit-and-run strikes against the advancing tendril of High Fleet Leviathan. As the Radiant Sons maneuvered to execute these attacks, the sheer number of Tyranid vessels began to close around them. The battle barge Covenant of Light sacrificed itself to prevent the fleet from being encircled, holding the rear and allowing the rest of the force to break away. Repeated attack runs left the Radiant Sons' fleet battered and exposed, enabling Hive ships to press ever closer. The battle barge Endless Task, already damaged earlier in the fighting, was rammed repeatedly before detonating in a massive firestorm that destroyed dozens of Xenos vessels. In its wake, the Surprise remained the sole battle barge still operational. Battle Group Radiant continued to inflict what damage it could upon the encroaching swarm, slowly being chiseled away as it held out for as long as possible in the hope of the arrival of the much larger and already en route larger First Fleet of Twilight. For the Radiant Sons who took part in this defining battle, this was their moment to prove themselves worthy of their colors and their blood. Many of the Space Marines who remained aboard the Hive Fleet were neophytes, newly inducted into the Brotherhood. Only a handful of seasoned sanguine veterans were present to guide them. Among them, Sergeant Metis, Void Reaver of the 4th Company, and Captain Lionel Hullbreaker of the 3rd Company. They would earn their place in fire amongst the endless tendrils of Leviathan or die in the attempt. For it is said that the Radiant Sons are shaped as much by their deeds as by their blood, and in the crucible of Baal, both would be tested without mercy. They knew this was the hour to rise to their father's glory and at last answer the weight of a millennia-old shame. By the end of the hundreds of Astartes and Radiant Sons, one more time. We got this. By the end, the hundreds of Astartes and Radiant Sons. I got this. I can lock in. By the end of the hundreds of Astartes the Radiant Sons had sent to support the Blood Angels, fewer than 30 of the Night Fleet and even fewer of Twilight Crusade Astartes contingent on Baal survived. Of the hundreds of ships they had committed, less than a dozen escorts limped through the void, debris trails following in their wake. The first Twilight Fleet arrived just in time, bearing reinforcements as the Indomitus Crusade liberated Baal. Following the battle, Aurelia Tempris, along with the full might of the Tempris Auxilia Fleet and the militant contingent of the Order of the Burning Sate, came to the aid of the remaining Sons on Baal's surface. Half of the surviving Radiant Sons Astartes were elevated to the Twilight Fleet, while others became sergeants for the new Grey Shield Primaris reinforcements that swelled the Night Fleet's companies following the gift of Rabute Gilliman. Okay, I think I think we're gonna stop here. I am just... This next section is long. I was like, oh, if it was short, but like it's... Well, my voice hurts. There's like 5 pages left of text. Brother. So, 1, we're gonna count, this is 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 6 or 7. It's like 6 or 7, because I gotta read this too. Oh, do we lock in? Lock in. No, we don't lock in. Call it. No, I'm torn. I'm torn because I'm like, I could do it. I could do it. I don't want to. I'm not necessarily tired. I mean, I am tired. But my voice, I don't know how much more I want to read out. I don't want to kill my voice. I got things to do tomorrow. People are like, why is your voice shot? Man, we attempted it. I said like, oh, we'll read it for as long as it takes. Yeah, we'll see maybe tomorrow. I have an idea if we read the rest of it next week, but I kind of want to. Aurelia mentioned. Oh, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? Aurelia. No, it's not that I don't feel good. It's just I think my voice will be shot. Ugh. Okay, we'll save the rest of it for probably tomorrow. There's a lot of words. How many words? I saw Shadow, you said something, and I how many words did we get to? I saw 12,000 at one point. Hi, Torn. I'm Pun Giver. Seriously, take a break, rest up. Thank you for the super chat, Pun Giver. Yeah, how many? 15K. That's a lot of words. Wow, that's a lot of words. Too bad I'm reading them. Yeah, over 15,000 if you think about all the times I messed up and went back and I repeated myself. Here, I'm gonna stop this recording. I don't know. Dude, a 2.5 hour recording. Good night. File. Save as. Radiant. Sun's reading cute. Win. Ba 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 ba. There. Saved. Thanks, Aurelia. Your streaming time has successfully resulted in me not sleeping tonight. Well, the VODs exist for a reason. Am I sure about that supplement? Yes. How big is the supplement gonna be? The supplement has to be smaller than the main document, right? I also didn't promise that I would read the supplement on stream. Unlike this one. I said I would. I know VODs aren't as fun as, like, live, but sleep is good. Sleep is good, brother. Brother, get sleep. Just arrived. Did you write up your own lore? No, I did not. I did not write up my own lore. This was my community. They were really, really cool, and they wrote it all up. It's really good. It's really good, guys. My eyes do feel tired, though. A lot of reading. A lot of reading. And, like, it's different from just reading chat. If that makes sense. I love looking at the mod channel and watch my my mods dropping like flies. They're like, I'm tired. I'm passing out, brother. Me, inevitably the last one. I'm the last brother standing. Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba. Okay. Should we see if there are individuals that we can say hi to on this lovely Thursday evening? Let's see here. Oh, you know who will raid back? Well, she kind of raided us. Cha-Cha last week raided us with Suto and another VTuber whose name escapes me. So we're gonna raid Suto, because she kind of raided us, so we'll raid her back. Yeah. Berry Crepe, thank you, man. I can't remember anything. So many words. So many words. Yes, thank you, mods. Join the Discord. Mini painting competition, cash prizes, and if you win Best in Show, you get a Land Raider, the mini, for free. I will send it to you. I will know your address. I'll know where you live. I'm kidding. It's all in good fun. But keep in mind, Space Marines and their related vehicles. So that's it's gonna be great. Find more information in the Discord. I will also make a post on YouTube, but most of the information you will find in the Discord. So you have 2 months. You have 2 months to paint your miniatures. Okay, 2 months. That should be plenty of time to get something done. And yes, I will be putting together a writing competition as well. Yeah, I got stuff to do. Yeah, you can use a Horus Heresy tank with 40k minis. That's fine. That is a-okay. All good here. Okay, gentlemen. Have a wonderful evening. Now, please, don't skip leg day. And I will see you all later. Okay? Bye.